Chapter 1171. Critical Moment of Life and Death 5. Very quickly, two iron tower-like strong men slowly walked up onto the stone stage, hands behind their backs, standing there motionless. Ziyan let out a strangled sound. These two people obviously were not ordinary, at least with strength at the 9th rank. But how could she who was at the 7th rank and Bei Qining at the 8th rank beat them? At this time, Su Luo's heart was also tangled. Su Luo suddenly asked Nangong Liuyun, "Those two people that are above the 10th rank, how much grasp do you have in defeating them?" A dark shadow enveloped Nangong Liuyun's handsome face. 1/10. What if I stalled one of them for 10 breaths time? Su Luo asked diligently. 3/10. When experts exchange blows, even 1 second could make a big difference. Then okay. Su Luo, at this moment, finally decided. She grabbed the nervous Ziyan with her hand and said in a low voice, "First you wait a bit." Oh, Ziyan turned around and looked at Su Luo in confusion. Su Luo took the small stone from her space, quietly stuffing it into her hand. Her expression had a trace of seriousness. "You must remember, when your life's in danger, smash this rock at the opponent. It ought to save your life." Just now, Su Luo discussed this with the little stone in her mind. Although the little stone was very much unwilling, but he was still unable to contend against Su Luo's stubbornness. For Su Luo, in this life and in the previous life, Ziyan was the only friend that pleased her eyes. She didn't want anything to happen to Ziyan. Ziyan took the stone Su Luo passed to her. This stone was about the size of a chicken egg. Its entire body was red. Besides this, there wasn't a trace of spirit energy fluctuations. She looked at Su Luo skeptically. "What is this thing?" Su Luo smiled. "You shouldn't look down on it." At that time, it struck with all its strength and heavily wounded that old Wuxian Xia. Hearing Su Luo say this, a bit of joy appeared in the depths of Ziyan's eyes. Then that's simply great. Originally, she didn't have a thread of certainty. Now, she was a bit more confident. Su Luo thought about it and stuffed another bottle into Ziyan's arms. "This is corrosive powder. Take it and use it according to the circumstances." Ziyan's eyes were filled with worry. She hesitantly asked, "Then what about you?" "You shouldn't worry. I still have 2 spirit pets and a plant spirit pet. When the time comes, I'll use them all if I need to," Su Luo said confidently. Ziyan saw Su Luo full of confidence, so she also believed in her and nodded. "Okay. We'll do everything to eliminate these two, so there's less pressure on you guys." "Okay." Su Luo smilingly patted her shoulder. Ziyan and Bei Qining slowly walked up to the stage. The fight was about to start. At this moment, Su Luo's gaze watched them closely. The 2 iron tower-like strong men each faced off against Ziyan and Bei Qining. Bei Qining and one of them got caught up in an irresolvable situation. But speaking of Ziyan's situation, she, as an insignificant 7th rank, forget about fighting, she couldn't even avoid this guy. She was simply lifted up like a little chick in his hand. Ziyan secretly came up with a fighting plan, but now, she wasn't in a favorable position to use her skills. That iron tower-like strong man looked directly towards the stage below. He clearly recalled Li Yaoyao's matter from before, and felt that if things dragged out, matters could change. Therefore he ruthlessly lifted Ziyan up with both hands. "Ah!" Ziyan shouted anxiously. However, this time, the iron tower-like strong man had no intention of tossing Ziyan out. One could only see his legs lowered, putting all his strength into his hands. Not good. He wants to tear Ziyan into pieces. Su Luo immediately became anxious. Chapter 1172. Critical Moment of Life and Death 6. This iron tower-like strong man's speed was simply too fast. Ziyan had only been up there for a few seconds, and she was already in a losing position. Moreover, she had become fish meat on the sacrificial altar, allowing the other to manipulate. "Ziyan, the stone, quickly use the stone." Su Luo shouted loudly towards the stage. Crack, crack, Ziyan felt her bones being gradually pulled longer. Bean-sized droplets of sweat formed on her forehead and rolled down. The enormous pain made her lose consciousness a bit. Su Luo's words immediately stimulated her back to consciousness. That's right, She still hadn't used the secret weapon Su Luo just handed to her. She absolutely won't admit defeat like this. Ziyan did her best to endure the pain, clenching her jaw and using all of her strength. She smashed that stone she had clenched tightly in her hand towards the man's forehead resolutely. Now Ziyan was lifted up high, so this position made it easy for her to reach the iron tower-like strong man's forehead. The iron tower-like strong man thought it was an ordinary stone, so he didn't pay it any attention. But this unconcerned attitude led to a very serious outcome. Although the little stone was unwilling, but he saved Ziyan regardless. When the stone was smashed towards the iron tower-like strong man's forehead, a fierce raging flame exploded on his forehead. This flame seemed to contain the whole world's strength. A distant and very ancient breath seemed to come from afar. The forehead of the iron tower-like strongman was directly hit head-on. Now how could he have the time to care about Ziyan's life or death? His hands loosened and Ziyan fell straight down to the ground. Ziyan's reaction was very quick. She did a somersault and quickly fled. This iron tower-like strongman now had gone completely crazy. He hugged his head in pain, jumping around constantly. He cried, screamed and roared in pain. His formidable palms sent out endless murderous palm strikes of wind, as if he could lessen the pain like this. The fire on his head continued to burn. No matter what, it couldn't be extinguished. Just kept on burning fiercely like this. This iron tower-like strong man didn't last long. Afterwards, he directly fell over on the ground and closed his eyes in regret. He really died too unjustly. Too unjustly. But who told Su Luo to have a treasure like the little stone? Ziyan watched everything with a dumbfounded expression. For a long time, she couldn't return to her senses. Just like this he died. Ziyan turned to look at Su Luo. If she could kill the iron tower-like strong man so easily, what could she possibly be afraid of? Su Luo suddenly felt speechless. That stone can only be used once. After using it, there will be no spirit force left. Ziyan looked at the stone in her hand. As expected, the original red color of the stone had now turned black. Moreover, she could not feel any spirit fluctuations within. At this time, the sound of explosion came from behind Ziyan. Ziyan turned around to see the scene of Beichening being hit flying by the iron tower-like strong man. Ziten tossed the stone back to Su Luo. Her body was like a bullet as she rushed towards that iron tower-like strong man. Are you looking to die? Quickly get out of the way. Beichening shouted angrily while covering his chest. How could this woman enjoy sticking her head out for other people so much? Just like a monkey climbing a tree, her movements were very nimble. That's right, at this time, Ziyan took the iron tower-like strongman for a tree. She took advantage of his unprepared state, and rushed up his body in 2 to 3 strides. Beichening was afraid that she would be slapped into a meat patty. Therefore, doing his best to endure the pain, he crawled up. He dashed forward, and attacked the iron tower-like strongman head-on. By now, Ziyan had already climbed on the iron tower-like strongman's back, looking as if she was being given a piggyback ride by him. Chapter 1173. Critical Moment of Life and Death 7. The iron tower-like strong man's palm slapped towards Ziyan. Ziyan only felt all the bones in her body nearly break apart in this instant. The intense pain made her forelimbs go numb, as if this body wasn't hers anymore. However, Ziyan clenched her teeth and endured the pain. She tore away the iron tower-like strong man's clothes at his neck, and dumped all the corrosive powder that Su Luo gave her straight down his neck. Such a huge bottle of corrosive power was all dumped inside. The iron tower-like strong man felt as though a little ant was making small movements at his back. So another palm slapped towards Ziyan again, directly sending her flying away. Under such a strong palm strike, Ziyan spit out blood non-stop. She felt as if her internal organs were about to break into slags. Beichenying's pair of eyes were bloodshot as though he wanted to rend things apart, and he shouted, "This daddy is going to kill you." From childhood till now, nobody had ever summoned such a strong killing intent from young Master Beichen. Beichening threw a heavy punch at the iron tower-like strong man's chest. But the created effect was very weak. The iron tower-like strong man straightened his chest, and Beichenying's punch seemed as if it was receiving endless resistance, and was actually heavily smashed back. Following this strong force, Bei Chenying's body was sent flying once again. Bei Chenying fell very similarly to the ground as Ziyan. The two of them exchanged a bitter laugh. It seems this time we difficult to escape calamity. Blood kept violently rushing forth from Ziyan's mouth. Tears also rushed out like spring water. These tears were not for herself, but for Su Luo. Had Su Luo kept the stone for herself, then one of the two 10th-ranked strong men would have been eliminated. Luo gave it to her, but she wasted it like that. The pain in Ziyan's heart was 100% stronger than the pain on her body. Bei Chenying wanted to laugh. He only curled the corner of his lips, when a mouthful of blood rushed out. His injuries were not much better Ziyan's. 9th rank, so it turned out be this strong. Bei Chenying repeatedly smiled bitterly. A pity, in this life, he would never be able to cultivate to the 9th rank. His life was about to end on this stone stage. His gaze looked down. He saw Su Luo and Nangong Liuyun standing together. Her eyes which were looking at him were filled with deep concern. To have such a moment when she was truly concerned for him. His life was not wasted. Bei Chenying endured the pain and put on a smile for Su Luo. Su Luo's eyebrows shot up immediately in a frown. Bei Chenying, you big idiot. What are you smiling for? Quickly go face the enemy. Su Luo wished she could rush up and violently hit that big idiot for a period of time. Things were at a crisis on the stage. He still had the leisure to smile? Now the Iron Tower-like strong man, step by step, walked closer to Bei Chenying and them. However, his body was obviously affected by the corrosive powder, his back twisted this way and that way. He snarled in a low voice, obviously enduring great pain. Bei Chenying was reminded by Su Luo, and lifted his head to see that Iron Tower-like strong man yell in pain. However, what's the use? Now he didn't even have the strength to stand up. Su Luo wished she could beat those two idiots to death. Really about to be infuriated to death by you two. Spirit pinballs. The spirit pinballs you guys won before as a reward. Su Luo shouted loudly at them. Su Luo clearly remembered during the second challenge, they had won first place. At that time, the reward was 2 spirit pinballs. Su Luo didn't see them use it along the way, so now, she reminded them in a loud voice. This reminder from Su Luo was like pure enlightenment for the two of them. They felt like they had woke up from a dream. Chapter 1174. The last challenge won. That's right. How could they have forgotten about such a treasure? Spirit pinballs, the reward given to them by the master of the 9 different palace halls. Bei Chenying fiercely slapped his own forehead, wishing he could smash his head like a melon. He actually forgot such an important thing. Now, even Ziyan wanted to puke out blood, because she had also completely forgotten about the spirit pinballs. They looked at each other, and saw identical annoyed expressions in each other's expression. At this moment, that Iron Tower-like strong man was getting closer, step by step. Although his back was wounded by the corrosive powder, but to kill these 2 lowly ants in front of him, was still the task coming from his brain. Just at this moment Ziyan fished out that spirit pinball from her sleeve, and ruthlessly smashed it towards the Iron Tower-like strong man. But at this time, Ziyan's breath was very weak, without much strength. Although that spirit pinball smashed towards the face of the Iron Tower-like strong man, he quickly was able to avoid it. Rumble, the spirit pinball gave off a huge sound of explosion. For a second, it was as if an atomic bomb exploded. Momentarily, the earth quaked and mountains shook. The sound was deafening, and black smoke curled up all around. Because that moment tore at the wound, Ziyan couldn't take a breath. She covered her chest as she violently coughed. But what made Ziyan depressed was that her hard work was all for nothing. And she even wasted a spirit pinball. Because that Iron Tower-like strong man dodged in time, he only felt a trace of the effect. His forehead felt dizzy from the explosion, but otherwise he didn't have any serious injury. When Bei Chenying saw this, he suddenly felt it wasn't good. Taking advantage of the moment the Iron Tower-like strong man shook his head to get rid of the dizziness, he took a breath, endured the pain in his body and suddenly moved forward. He rushed up and directly smashed the spirit pinball at the Iron Tower-like strong man's chest. No, Bei Chenying. Ziyan screeched as her face paled in fear. Who would have known that the strong Iron Man, suddenly being attacked by Bei Chenying, would heavily kick towards him? As a result, Bei Chen-yin was sent flying backwards far away. As he was kicked flying, Bei Chen-ying's lips curled into a satisfied smile. Sure enough, he had guessed right. A person's subconscious reaction was really cute. Ziyan was also smart. After Bei Chen-ying was kicked flying, she endured the pain and, relying on her last breath, flew out to catch Bei Chen-ying. Otherwise, Bei Chen-ying, who had no spirit strength left, would breathe his last from the fall. As for that pitiful iron tower-like strong man, his reaction had, in a timely manner, avoided the first spirit pinball. The second spirit pinball directly was shot into his chest by Bei Chen-ying in the moment when he didn't detect it. How could this one be so easily avoided? Just when he reacted to pull the spirit pinball out, the spirit pinball had already exploded in his chest area. Rumble, a loud explosive sound erupted from his chest. Endless earth-shattering spirit energy filled the air, overwhelmingly fierce. That sturdy body of the iron tower-like strong man was immediately blown into meat chunks, spattering everywhere. The powerful vibrations only settled down after a long while. Now the opponent's two iron tower-like strong men had bravely sacrificed their lives. In the distance, Bei Chen-ying and Ziyan also fell to the ground, covered in blood from head to toe. Su Luo, with quick steps, rushed up and stuffed a life-replenishing golden pill into each of their mouths. Then she directly poured celestial spirit water into their mouths. Fortunately, they are still breathing. Su Luo wiped the sweat off of her forehead with incomparable relief. The so-called concern for chaos. The fight on the stage was intense. She who was under the stage also became anxious. Fortunately, this challenge, they got through more scared than hurt. On the stone stage, the originally terrible bloody mess, without being noticed, had already gradually restored to before. Chapter 1175. The last challenge, too. Although this challenge had dangers lurking on all sides, fortunately, in the end, they got through without mishap and safely passed. After Su Luo's treatment, Bei Chen-ying and Ziyan's injuries gradually started to improve. She believed that after a few days, they would recover completely. Their victory also took a lot pressure off Su Luo's team of 2 people. Finally, Su Luo and Nangong Liuyun stood on the stage. Now this was the last challenge. Luo, in the next moment, you must not leave my side too far. Nangong Liuyun told her in a low voice. Because if she strayed too far away, his protective cover would not be able to protect her. No, you concentrate on facing the enemy, don't need to mind me. Su Luo's face was calm. I'll help you stall them for 10 seconds. This 10 seconds was the only opportunity she was striving for. Originally, she could strive for longer, but the energy within the little stone was already used up in Ziyan's battle. After eliminating his fighting strength and after Su Luo's careful calculation, she realized that, at most, she could only stall for 10 seconds. The most important thing is your body. Nangong Liuyun's handsome eyebrows nodded. I know, you shouldn't get distracted. Su Luo was most worried about this. While they were talking, the last 2 iron tower-like strong men walked up the stage, step by step. Their walking speed was very slow, very slowly. Every step they took made a rumbling sound, full of imposing manner. Soon, the 2 10th-ranked iron tower-like strong men stood in front of them. Their expressions were cold and solemn, awe-inspiring. Their entire body gave off an enormous power. It was an especially dangerous fluctuation. This powerful murderous aura rushed forth towards Su Luo and Nangong Liuyun in an earth-shattering manner. He could withstand this powerful pressure, but Su Luo absolutely could not. Very likely, just this breath would directly pulverize Su Luo. Nangong Liuyun's pitch-black eyes shone with a cold light. He suddenly took a step forward, and an unprecedentedly pure strong spiritual force exploded from his body. Like round clouds and mist, he blocked that huge power 10 meters in front of him. Soon after, he constructed a tough protective cover around Su Luo. This protective cover was not something that anybody could produce, but Nangong Liuyun was able to do it because he had a secret book of cultivation. Please. Nangong Liuyun's eyes glistened, immediately making the first move against the experts. One could see a white light flow out of his large, slim palm, faintly giving off a strange fluctuation. Nangong Liuyun's eyes narrowed. his palm carrying this strange fluctuation. Suddenly, he rushed towards the slightly weaker one among the two. Nangong Liuyun didn't have a grasp on winning against the two of them working together, but if he separated them, he had more of a grasp. He had confidence that he could take down this weaker 10th-ranked opponent in 10 seconds. Following Nangong Liuyun's fast movements, that majestic ocean-like white light condensed into a sphere and suddenly shot out from between his hands. The sphere immediately broke into numerous star-like lights. There were countless number of these star-like lights. Each radiated a cold aura, appearing especially eerie and strange, murderous-looking. Launch! Nangong Liuyun's strong voice thundered. In the wake of his launch, immediately, countless star-like lights engulfed towards that small 10th rank in violent waves. Faintly, that light seemed to be attracted to the soul, piercing through a person's heart and soul. The small 10th-ranked opponent's body was covered in star-like lights. It was not a punch or blow from a sword that you could withdraw from. These were countless murderous scathing star-like lights, and the person who launched it was the ruthless Nangong Liuyun. This time, he did not hold back. He went all out. Facing this heaven and earth-like murderous move, this slightly weaker 10th-ranked Iron Tower-like strong man's expression had a trace of alarm. Chapter 1176. The Last Challenge 3. A countless number of star-like lights wrapped around this Iron Tower-like strong man. No one could see clearly the situation inside the star-like lights. Following the arrival of the star-like lights, Nangong Liuyun's lanky figure arrived like a huge violent wave. With a flip of his hand, a long pitch-black sword appeared in his hand. Famous in all the lands, Qi Shao sword. Nangong Liuyun's hand grasped Qi Shao sword, lifted it up high, and ruthlessly chopped into those star-like lights. Nangong Liuyun chopped down from his position up high. Clang! The striking of metal sounded continuously. Momentarily, fiery sparks shot out in all directions. The star-like lights that were originally wrapped around the Iron Tower-like strong man automatically moved away. This sword strike by Nangong Liuyun seemed as if he had directly split the ocean in two. Now the spirit power protecting the Iron Tower-like strong man's body was directly split open by Nangong Liuyun's sword attack. The Iron Tower-like strong man lifted his right arm up high, firmly trying to ward off Qi Shao's sword. His right arm had a piece of golden-colored metal protective shield. A strange light flashed through Nangong Liuyun's eyes. He fiercely poured spirit force into his hand. Hey! The Iron Tower-like strong man's face turned very red. His pair of eyes opened wide until they were round as copper bells. Red bloodlines split his pupil, sinister and terrifying. Within 10 meters of his body, the stone stage burst open with cracking sounds, compressed like a spider web. Nangong Liuyun pressed closer, step by step, and the Iron Tower-like strong man did everything to resist. Temporarily, Nangong Liuyun could not finish him off. Opposite of this scene was Su Luo's side. Now the situation had already reached a very dangerous stage. Since Su Luo basically had no fighting strength, she was merely relying on her spirit pets. This formidable 10th-ranked expert took a step forward. Without waiting for Su Luo to react, the strong wind from a palm strike shot towards Su Luo's face. In this Iron Tower-like strong man's eyes, as long as he killed the little girl in front of him, it would be considered that he had accomplished half of his mission. Just at this moment, the little divine dragon and the nine-tailed silver fox, one in front and one behind, pounced forward. The little divine dragon used his formidable defense to resist the wind palm strike, whereas the nine-tailed silver fox quickly leaped to behind the Iron Tower-like strong man's back and smashed a fist heavily towards his head. With the little divine dragon resisting the strike in front, when the wind palm strike arrived before Su Luo's body, its power had already become very weak. But no matter how weak the force, it was still a huge threat to Su Luo. One could only see Su Luo's figure sway a bit, but fortunately, Nangong Liuyun had always split out a portion of his spirit powers to condense out a protective cover to protect her. Otherwise, she would have already died and disappeared like jade. Awo awo awo. The little divine dragon saw Su Luo was affected. He snarled angrily and rushed towards that formidable Iron Tower-like strong man. And at this moment, the little fox that stood on the Iron Tower-like strong man's body smashed a fist towards him. Two little spirit pets known for their quick speed circled around this incomparably strong iron tower-like strong man. Because the iron tower-like strong man's body was huge, and the two spirit pets' bodies were very small, so this was actually unfavorable to the iron tower-like strong man. Just like mice fighting against an elephant. A mouse could nimbly and quickly run all over the place and change directions. But even though an elephant had huge strength, its body was clumsy. As a result, the two spirit pets were able to stop the iron tower-like strong man, not allowing him to harm Su Luo, and also didn't give him an opportunity to allow him to act together with the other strong man to deal with Nangong Liuyun. However, this iron tower-like strong man absolutely deserved his reputation. His strength was not less than Nangong Liuyun. His path was repeatedly blocked, and suddenly he became impatient. A green light shot out from the iron tower-like strong man's eyes. Soon after, one could only see his arms suddenly extend backwards, chest proudly stuck out. His mouth suddenly bellowed. Ah! Once this sound bellowed out, it was like the tranquil sea surface suddenly had violent and huge waves. The berserk spirit force almost tore apart the air. Chapter 1177. The Last Challenge 4. Severe and tyrannical spirit power spread all around like torrential rain. The majestic spirit force nearly tore everything apart in the surroundings. This was the pressure that belongs to a 10th-ranked expert. How could an ordinary person withstand it? In that instant, blood madly rushed out from the little divine dragon's nose, ears and corner of his mouth. He held his head and rolled around on the ground in pain. The nine-tailed spirit fox's reaction was even more intense. Under such huge pressure, its pair of eyes directly flipped over and fainted. The pitiful Su Luo, without these two to protect her, she would simply collapse with the first blow. Under such enormous pressure, the protective cover around Su Luo became spider web-like, fracturing inch by inch, finally becoming dust. However, fortunately, the variant acacia tree had already protected the fracturing cover since earlier. It had already used its lush leaves and branches to form a cage to protect Su Luo within it. Originally, the variant acacia tree couldn't protect Su Luo, but now, the pressure was weakened after passing through the many layers. By the time it arrived on Su Luo's body, it wasn't serious anymore. Moreover, after the variant acacia tree absorbed the plant essence and changed again, its strength had reached a very formidable stage, thus, it was able to protect Su Luo. Nangong Liuyun saw Su Luo was safe for the time being. Only then did he wipe away the sweat on his forehead. A thread of anger flashed through his eyes, and he poured an endless amount of spirit force into Qi Xiao's sword. Qi Xiao's sword was incomparably sharp. One move could frighten the world. After filling it full of spirit force swoosh, Nangong Liuyun grasped Qi Xiao's sword and swung horizontally across. A sharp, ear-piercing sound came from the sky. When she looked up again, Su Luo finally relaxed slightly. Nangong Liuyun's Qi Xiao sword streaked horizontally across that iron tower-like strong man's throat. Now that person stood there upright with a disbelieving expression, but the blood pouring out of his throat didn't seem to register within him. Moreover, the wound continuously expanded. Blood sprayed down on his jacket and tumbled to the ground. Very quickly, under his feet where he stood, was already dyed red by blood. He opened his mouth wanting to speak, but because his throat was cut, he couldn't say a complete word. Now the iron tower-like strong man facing Su Luo saw this situation. There was no expression in his eyes, but his long arm extended out, directly grabbing toward Su Luo. His speed was very fast. Nearly in the blink of an eye, his enormous hand had arrived at Su Luo's side. A trace of alarm flashed through Su Luo's eyes. If she was grabbed, very likely she would be pinched into fine powder, right? During this thrilling moment, Su Luo's reaction was very fast. Nangong Liuyun has Qi Xiao sword. She has Chungying sword. If she doesn't use it now, then when will she use it? Go! Su Luo shouted in a low tone. Chungying sword flew out from Su Luo's space, ruthlessly shooting towards that enormous palm reaching towards her. Within the Chungying sword was a sword spirit. It could control the flight path of the sword and conduct its own attacks. That iron tower-like strong man never imagined that the blue-colored sword could attack by itself. His eyes flashed and his fist tightened, then single-handedly smashed towards Chungying's sword. The fist approached like a torrential rush, with boundless imposing manner. Hissing sounds came from the air because of the fist's power, as if space was about to be torn apart. Chang'ing's sword, stand firm. Su Luo's hand formed a fist, shouting encouragement towards the silent Chang'ing's sword. However, Chang'ing's sword's response really took Su Luo aback. At this moment, the iron tower-like strong man's fist smashed towards Chang'ing's sword. Chang'ing's sword, with fast speed, shot towards the iron tower-like strong man. Both sides were aggressive with mutual hostility. Completely like hot-blooded guys going all out, being a you die then I will live situation. However, just when both sides were about to meet, where did the Chang'ing sword go? Su Luo only felt that in front of her eyes. It blurred, and she completely lost all trace of Chang'ing's sword. Chapter 1178. The Last Challenge 5. Clang, a heavy sound echoed in reply to Su Luo's question. At this moment, Chang'ing's sword directly fell to the ground, smashing a long, deep, strip-sized hole in the ground. Su Luo was immediately speechless. She had seen cowards, but never seen a cowardly sword. Today's Chang'ing sword's performance finally broadened her horizons. In this world, there was actually a craven and cowardly sword. If it didn't want to go up, then don't go. Why did it assume the aura of a brave man willing to risk his life just now? Su Luo gracefully had her hand over her forehead, speechlessly looking to the sky. And what was Chang'ing's sword doing right now? Its sword body, with rapid speed, rushed towards Su Luo, wanting to enter Su Luo's space as if its life depended on it. However, after one slap on its head by Su Luo, it suddenly became well-behaved. Shrinking back as battle approaches, should be beheaded by law. Su Luo strongly flicked its sword hilt. Chang'ing's sword gave a cry as if it wouldn't accept this. Not to mention Su Luo and the sword spirit's conversation, just talking about the iron tower-like strong man. Just now, when Chang'ing's sword shrinked back as battle approached, that iron tower-like strong man's fist, full of endless force, suddenly seemed to smashed into cotton. Even more because of the opponent shrinking back as battle approached, he could not pull the power back, and stumbled forward, nearly making him fall down. At this moment, Nangong Liuyun had already resolved his opponent. His figure was like electricity, with footsteps leaving behind an afterimage. When he reappeared, he had already arrived at the back of this iron tower-like strong man. Both of his hands firmly held onto Qi Xiao's sword. His body gave off a terrifying explosive power. The imposing bloodthirsty and air of massacre enveloped him. The corner of Nangong Liuyun's mouth hooked into a terrifying sneer. Qi Xiao's sword pierced towards the lower back of the iron tower-like strong man. Having seen round after round of battles, Nangong Liuyun had already seen through everything clearly. Don't just look at how sturdy these iron tower-like strong men were built, but they also had weaknesses. Their weakness was that they had an iron head, copper-like body but a tofu-soft waist. The protection on their head and whole body were abnormally strong, but the waist area was their weak point. As a result, Nangong Liuyun, without the slightest hesitation, directly thrust towards his lower backbone. The iron tower-like strong man felt danger approaching, and his brain worked very fast. His figure directly moved forward to fall down on the ground, dangerously avoiding this fatal attack by Nangong Liuyun. Although his lower backbone avoided this fatal strike, but the side of his waist was ruthlessly sliced by Nangong Liuyun, leaving behind a severe wound. The iron tower-like strong man did a roll, and his body turned around. His head directly knocked towards Nangong Liuyun. Now he looked like an aggressive bull charging headlong towards Nangong Liuyun. Originally, Su Luo's heart loosened when she saw Nangong Liuyun took over, but seeing the iron tower-like strong man's throwing caution to the wind endless offensive attack, her heart suddenly went cold. Her gaze looked nervously towards Nangong Liuyun. Nangong Liuyun's figure was like lightning, shooting towards the sky. Towering above all, his sleeves waved over immediately, torrential rain poured down from midair. This iron tower-like strong man was immediately submerged by the torrential rain. Moreover, he also lost the target of his attack. He raised his head and saw Nangong Liuyun standing in midair, flying fast like an immortal, a trace of anger flashing through his eyes. Splash! The sound echoed and this huge iron tower-like giant stood up from the ground, steadily rising towards the sky. At this moment, a trace of deep worry flashed through Su Luo's eyes. Nangong Liuyun had just entered the 10th rank, while that iron tower-like strong man had exceeded the 10th rank. With regards to strength, Nangong Liuyun might not be able to beat him. However, a crafty expression flashed through Su Luo's eyes. With assistance from water, what dirty trick Nangong Liuyun was about to do, Su Luo was very clear about. It was also because of this that a touch interest in watching a play flashed through her eyes. At this moment, Nangong Liuyun stood in place high above, his sleeves flipping over, just like the gods, incomparably noble. Chapter 1179. The Last Challenge 6. A sly sneer opened up on his handsome face. Dare to chase after me? Court death. Nangong Liuyun used both hands to form seals. One after another, seals soared to the sky from his hands. The one courting death is you. The iron tower-like strong man finally said his first sentence. A layer of metal with a golden luster covered the right arm of the iron tower-like strong man. This metal with golden luster continuously extended to his entire body, covering his enormous body. This metal with golden luster was his strongest defense. Right now his protective cover came out because this rainstorm actually contained a strong corrosive nature. If he didn't protect himself, his physical body would be injured by the burns. Nangong Liuyun watched as he protected his entire body, inch by inch. His eyebrow rose up slightly, a treacherous smile flashing through his eyes. Really? Then let's see who's the one that finds it. His words had just finished when Nangong Liuyun rushed towards the iron tower-like strong man with the manner of a starving wolf. The iron tower-like strong man also rushed towards Nangong Liuyun like a cheetah. The two people were at daggers drawn. Life or death could happen at any moment. Watching as the two people were about to meet, the seals Nangong Liuyun's hands formed were finally finished. Enjoy it well. Nangong Liuyun's figure suddenly lowered like what the Chengying sword did before he slid towards the ground. This moment, the iron tower-like strong man was already guarded against this move. His huge leg that was flickering with golden lights suddenly kicked towards Nangong Liuyun. Want to run? Not going to be that easy. Just when the iron tower-like strong man's leg was about to kick Nangong Liuyun, an unforeseen event suddenly happened at this moment. One could only see in midair, a very lofty lightning appeared. The lightning was like a dragon serpent. In a second, suddenly, the scorched thunderous lightning struck down. This scorching thunderous lightning wasn't looking for just anyone. With rumbling sounds, it aimed at the iron tower-like strong man and directly smashed down. That metal with golden luster covering the iron tower-like strong man's whole body was thin as fish scales. In a split second, it was directly hit by the thunderous lightning. A dragon serpent-shaped lightning rapidly wandered about his body. The iron tower-like strong man's huge body immediately stiffened in place. That leg maintained its extended posture. This action looked comical and ridiculous at the same time. Just at this moment, a countless number of lightning had formed into a sphere in midair. This thunderous lightning was not inferior to the one used to smash Fairy Yanxia from before. Nangong Liuyun's sleeves lifted effortlessly, and that lightning ball, flickering with white light, was like a powerful thunderbolt that refused to listen. With rumbling sounds, it exploded onto the iron tower-like strong man's body. The iron tower-like strong man, seeing this, his face immediately lost all color. Lightning system, among all the elements, it's the system with the most formidable attack power. In addition, Nangong Liuyun was a 10th-ranked lightning system expert. Moreover, the iron tower-like strong man was first soaked by water, and took the initiative to cover himself in golden metallic scales. Everything all doomed him to this tragedy. The iron tower-like strong man, in the next instant, wanted to withdraw the golden metallic scales' protective cover. But his movement was slowed, in a flash, having already been struck by the first lightning. A battle between experts. In a flash, several tens of killing moves would have already been used. Therefore, when that explosive rumbling thunderous lightning smashed down, the iron tower-like strong man didn't have time to withdraw the golden metallic scales. His entire body was directly hit by the ball of lightning. The ball of lightning exploded over his forehead. For a moment, white light glittered, fiery flames with lightning. It was like the most dazzling fireworks. So beautiful that it would enchant a person. Of course, the iron tower-like strong man, whose body was in the middle of this thunderous lightning, his feeling wasn't that wonderful. Right now, he was smashed dizzy by this ball of lighting that he wasn't guarded against. His body inside the golden metallic scales was like a roasted chicken wrapped in mud. He was directly roasted until well done. This iron tower-like strong man with well-developed forelimbs and simple mind didn't know that before Nangong Liuyun even stepped on the stage, he had already planned the way this iron tower-like strong man would die. Chapter 1180. Scarlet Blood Ningpo Figwort. 1. One after another, an endless number of balls of lightning smashed down, exploding on top of the iron tower-like strong man. The iron tower-like strong man didn't have a chance to live, and was simply hacked to death by the balls of lightning. Really pitiful. Why must he cover himself with the protective golden metallic scales? Isn't this bringing about one's own destruction? Su Luo lifted her head, and was all smiles as she looked at the beautiful scenery with sparks flying in all directions. Nangong Liuyun rubbed her head. You, this girl that got off lightly, and still trying to sell how well-behaved you were. It's more or less over, that's enough. Su Luo, smiling happily, hugged his arm. Originally, I thought this battle would be very tough. Never expected it to finish so simply. Nangong Liuyun tossed her a glance. Where was it so simple? From before even going on the stage, he had started to plan how to kill them. His accurate calculations and strategic planning abilities allowed him to plan the victory from thousands of miles away. Okay? Little girl actually erased all of his hard work. Unacceptable. He could not suffer a loss just like this. Sparks flew in all directions in the sky, like fireworks being set off. Nangong Liuyun's slender and long fingers hooked up Su Luo's tapered chin. Without waiting for Su Luo to react, his strong dark shadow pressed down over her. Whoa! In Su Luo's moment of inattentiveness, the edge of her soft lips were firmly seized. She opened her mouth, wanting to speak, and it just so happened to allow Nangong Liuyun to take advantage of the void and enter. He besieged her mouth, planning to stake his ground, wantonly ravaging her mouth. For a long time, as if the world stood still, Nangong Liuyun's large palm cupped Su Luo's palm-sized little face. Only then did the two of them slowly separate. Luo. An undercurrent rushed up from Nangong Liuyun's eyes, full of lust and vitality. After returning to Eastern Jin Empire, let us complete the marriage ceremony, okay? Without getting married, then variables would exist. His Luo girl was this beautiful, so beautiful as to shake one to the core. How could you ask him to feel reassured? Only by legitimately bringing her under his wing. Then he would feel reassured. Nangong Liuyun had made a firm decision. Whether it was to swindle or to coax, or even to kidnap, after returning to Eastern Jin Empire, he must complete the marriage. Su Luo was just about to speak, but then heard a soft groaning sound. Su Luo looked towards the sound, and saw Ziyan's pair of eyes slowly opened. She had a trace of bewilderment in her eyes. Su Luo didn't know how to reply to Nangong Liuyun, and simply pushed him away. In a high voice she said, "Quick! Ziyan and them had woken up. Quickly go over and take a look." Nangong Liuyun watched her hasty departing back view with a smile. This girl was still so bashful, simply very amusing. Su Luo supported Ziyan up, and asked with deep concern, "How are things? Do you feel a little bit better?" Ziyan lifted her eyes and saw the guy hacked into a statue on the stage, and her heart jumped from fear. What is this situation? Su Luo pursed her lips, eyes curved like the moon, smilingly said, "We won. You still haven't seen it clearly? You and third senior brother won?" Ziyan excitedly held Su Luo's hand. "That means you got the Scarlet Blood Ningpo Figwort?" Speaking of this, Su Luo inevitably had somewhat of a headache. For the time being, I still don't have it. They had won the fight, but where the Scarlet Blood Ningpo Figwort was, she completely did not know. Hey, you guys, look! Bei Chening, who had just woken up, cried out in surprise. Immediately, everyone followed his line of sight and looked over there. One could only see on that fighting stage. Don't know when a stone table 10 meters high and long had appeared. A sparkling, pure and translucent small jade box was arranged on that stone table. Inside the small jade box, A scarlet red like blood-colored ginseng gave off a formidable medicinal characteristic and powerful spirit force. Scarlet blood Ningpo Figwort. Su Luo cried out in surprise and suddenly stood up. Due to standing up too abruptly, Su Luo only felt faint and her vision blurred. Bursts of black areas appeared in front of her eyes. Don't be anxious since it has already appeared. There is no reason we can't get it. Nangong Liuyun rubbed Su Luo's head. You stand there and don't move, I'll go and fetch it. Chapter 1181, Scarlet Blood Ningpo Figwort 2. However, before Nangong Liuyun could take a step forward, the body of that iron tower-like strong man hanging in suspension, suddenly bang sounded. The golden metallic scales on his body tumbled down all over the ground. Afterwards, his body that was roasted rare and tender like a fried chicken, suddenly became dry and stiffened at a speed the naked eye could follow. Afterwards, it looked like a mummy that had been dried for many years. Wait! Su Luo grabbed Nangong Liuyun and pulled him to a stop. You can't go. What just happened on the fighting stage really alarmed a person's heart and made them jump. Nangong Liuyun's eyes narrowed slightly, but when he looked down at Su Luo, his eyes were pitch black and calm, full of smiles. What's wrong? Why is it that you can't be parted from me for even a moment? Su Luo unhappily rolled her eyes at him. That scene from just now, don't tell me you didn't see it. Don't tell me you aren't afraid of dying? Nangong Liuyun patted her slender, curved shoulder. No matter, believe in me, okay? Out of the question. Su Luo's tone was unprecedentedly firm. You can't go. I can't let you go take the risk. Luo, that is the scarlet blood Ningpo Figwort. Nangong Liuyun good-temperedly rubbed her head, and said in a patiently guiding manner. Once I get the scarlet blood Ningpo Figwort, your illness will be cured. Be obedient. Nangong Liuyun tenderly pried open Su Luo's fingers one by one. Who can testify that the box contains the scarlet blood Ningpo Figwort? What if it is to deceive you? Su Luo firmly pulled Nangong Liuyun to a stop by his sleeves. Her eyes were unprecedentedly serious, watching helplessly as the iron tower-like strong man's body got air-dried into a mummy right before her eyes. How could Su Luo feel assured enough to let Nangong Liuyun go? The passing of time on that fighting stage clearly was not the same as a normal time period. Just at this time a laughing voice came faintly from the sky. Loathsome girl, this master of the palace hall will testify that inside that box is the scarlet blood Ningpo Figwort that can cure your illness. Don't know when the master of the 9 different palace halls had appeared. The him right now didn't appear as an enormous face, rather, he appeared in his human form. Right now he was dressed in a black robe from head to toe. The corner of the spacious robe hung down to the ground, twisting and turning. He had both hands crossed behind his back, and stood there looking at Su Luo, full of smiles. That smiling expression clearly seemed crafty from Su Luo's point of view, deceitful and treacherous. You can't go. Su Luo firmly pulled Nangong Liuyun to a stop. I have a premonition that all the 9 challenges added together from before is not as dangerous as what's on that fighting stage. How could Nangong Liuyun not know? In fact, as a 10th-ranked expert, his perception for danger was very sharp. He could clearly sense that mysterious and strange aura on that fighting stage. The master of 9 palace halls' eyebrow pricked up. With a smile that was not quite a smile, he said, There is only that one stalk of scarlet blood Ningpo Figwort. Naturally it is you guys' reward. Since you guys don't want it, then might as well destroy it. He said it as if it's no big deal. His expression was like light clouds with gentle wind, as if what would be destroyed was only a stalk of carrot. Nangong Liuyun smiled faintly. Wait. What, you really want to go in? The 9 different palace halls master smilingly looked at Nangong Liuyun. A brilliant light flashed through his pair of small eyes, seemingly very mysterious. Nangong Liuyun's head nodded slightly. Why not? Aren't you afraid of time passing like water, getting old in a flash and becoming dried-up bones? The 9 different palace halls master, with a ghost of a smile, lifted an eyebrow provokingly. His chin lifted up, calm and composed. Nangong Liuyun's pitch-black as ink eyes were so deep that you couldn't see the bottom. He smiled enigmatically, turned around and directly walked towards that fighting stage. Nangong Liuyun, I order you to stand still. Su Luo anxiously yelled out loud. Chapter 1182, Scarlet Blood Ningpo Figwort 3. Luo Luo, wait for my return. Nangong Liuyun was firmly set, and turned his head to smile tenderly at Su Luo. No. Su Luo stumbled to go up. I can't let you face this kind of danger. Even if I'll stay this sickly for the rest of my life, I'll also acknowledge it. You can't go. Su Luo's sixth sense had always been strong. She could clearly sense that strange and dangerous aura on that stone fighting stage. So much so that she had an awful intuition that she would lose Nangong Liuyun. At this time, the master of the 9 different palace halls faintly smiled. The time is about to be over, oh. While speaking, this treacherous and deceitful master of the 9 different palace halls' sleeves easily lifted up. A stick of incense that had just been lit appeared in front of everyone. His meaning was very clear. Now, Nangong Liuyun only had a stick of incense's time left. Nangong Liuyun controlled his expression, and indifferently glanced at the master of the 9 different palace halls. Then he turned and patted Su Luo's head. Be obedient, stay in place and don't move. Believe in me, okay? Don't. Su Luo grabbed the wide sleeves of his gown. The base of her fingers were blanched white. Really was a hard-to-deal-with girl. Nangong Liuyun suddenly felt a headache coming on. Looking at that incense burning bit by bit, a trace of resoluteness flashed through Nangong Liuyun's eyes. He patted Su Luo's slender, curved shoulder and murmured beside her ear. Luo Luo, take care of yourself. Now Luo Luo being able to stand up was all because of the medicinal pills given to her by Grandmaster Rong Yun. If he didn't get the Scarlet Blood Ningpo Figwort, then his Luo girl wouldn't live for another month. This matter, Grandmaster Rong Yun had mentioned it to him. Even Luo girl didn't know this. Don't go. Su Luo grabbed his sleeve. Nangong Liuyun heavily hugged her to his chest. Both arms tightened, firmly locking her in. His head nestled in her shoulder and took a deep yearning breath, full of unwillingness to let go. Her body had a faint fragrance that was delicate and belonged only to her. Smelling it made a person's heart happy, descending endlessly into oblivion. Really wanted to continue holding her like this. Nangong Liuyun's large palm imprisoned Su Luo, moving up on her back. Suddenly, Su Luo sensed a trace of something was not right. But before she could react, her figure had already been set in place. It turned out, Nangong Liuyun took advantage of her being off guard to actually hit her pressure points. Su Luo gloomily glared at him. Nangong Liuyun lovingly and indulgently stroked her little head. Girl, wait for me to return, okay? Afterwards, he turned and left with big strides. In fact, before coming, Grandmaster Rong Yun had already talked with him in private. It was easy to break through the 9 different palace halls. But to get the Scarlet Blood Ningpo Figwort was extraordinarily difficult, because the Scarlet Blood Ningpo Figwort was inherently a heavenly material and a treasure on earth. It could resurrect a dead person and put flesh on bones of the dead. Its existence was very much in defiance of the natural order. If you wanted to get it, at the same time, you must pay an equally disastrous price. Nangong Liuyun understood more thoroughly than anyone what kind of predicament he would face inside this 9 different palace halls. It was even extremely possible he would lose his life. But he didn't even have to think before bringing Su Luo to crash through the 9 challenges along the whole journey. Su Luo looked at his lean sculpted rear view. The rim of her eyes were slightly red. At this moment, she was inconsolably regretful. If her strength was a bit stronger. If she didn't provoke Fairy Yanxia. If at that time, she didn't quarrel with Nangong Liuyun. If there was still another chance, she definitely wouldn't allow herself to be injured. The hands at Su Luo's side firmly gripped into fists. The strength was so strong that her fingers turned white. Nangong Liuyun's pace was steady, step by step, very carefully stepping on the stone steps, walking up to the fighting stage. There were altogether 10 stone steps. Originally, he could easily fly up, but now, these steps, every step was like a deep chasm. The repelling force was so strong as to be unparalleled. When Nangong Liuyun set foot on the first step, he could feel a formidable repulsive force. Chapter 1183, Scarlet Blood Ningpo Figwort 4. However, the first step was not bad, far from being able to reach his tolerance. The second step went up. The third step went up. All the way to the 8th step, Nangong Liuyun's footsteps finally slowed. This place's repelling force came with earth-shattering strength, like a violent huge wave surging up endlessly, nearly drowning him. A fine layer of sweat appeared on Nangong Liuyun's bright as jade forehead. He paused a bit, his foot slowly extended, then steadily stepped onto the 9th step. Standing on the 9th step, Nangong Liuyun could clearly feel the repulsive force here was a fold greater than on the 8th step. Having stood there for only a breath's time, the fine beads of sweat on Nangong Liuyun's head became large beads, dropping and tumbling down his chest and back. Very quickly, he was drenched in sweat. Nangong Liuyun took a breather, then took a deep breath and condensed all of his spirit force into his foot. However, he discovered that the strong repulsive force was heavy as a mountain range, nearly pressing down his entire person. That foot seemed to be glued to the ground. He used all the strength from the heart, and was only able to lift it a thumb length high. Seeing Nangong Liuyun lift up his foot to put it down again, under the fighting stage, everyone's eyes suddenly became more concentrated. Su Luo's fist was clenched tightly, murmuring in a low voice. These difficulties, with regards to you, are merely paper tigers. Nangong Liuyun, you can do it. Ziyan's heart became more nervous. She didn't dare to increase the pressure on Su Luo. So she pulled at Bei Chening and anxiously said, "Third senior brother seems under a lot of strain." Bei Chening's pair of eyes stared fixedly at Nangong Liuyun, so nervous that fine beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. He was nodding with emphasis. "It's nothing. Definitely it's nothing. From childhood to now. Have you ever seen Nangong Liuyun be stumped by a problem?" But before Ziyan could finish speaking, she was interrupted by Su Luo. "There is no but, he absolutely can do it." Su Luo's words were resolute and decisive, not allowing other opinions. Ziyan nodded her head, expressing her endorsement of Su Luo's words. On the flight of steps, only the last step remained. Nangong Liuyun lifted up his foot, then withdrew. Like this, he repeated 3 times without achieving success. On the contrary, the sweat on his forehead tumbled down like rain. His gaze turned slightly, and saw the long stick of incense that had burned down by half. His expression turned cold like solidified frost. Nangong Liuyun took a deep breath, completely emptying his mind. His entire body was as lithe as a feather, with all of his spirit force condensed under his foot. His body lost the spirit force to defend. Immediately, the formidable repulsive force was like a huge violent wave that seemed to pulverize him. But Nangong Liuyun clenched his teeth, used strength under his foot and firmly stepped on it. Bang! Even though Nangong Liuyun's sweat rushed forth like a river, his body tired to the extreme, however, he finally stepped on the fighting stage. Wow! Third senior brother was successful. He successfully stepped up on it. Ziyan excitedly waved her fist while screaming loudly. Bei Chening heavily nodded. "That's right! He succeeded. Really great ah!" Su Luo's face finally showed a smile of relief from a heavy burden. Her smile was as splendid as a summer flower, more beautiful than could be imagined. However, very quickly, her smile stiffened at the corner of her mouth. What is going on? Su Luo's entire body stiffened like an ice cube. Even her words weren't nimble anymore. Just a moment ago, Bei Chening and Ziyan, who were still in an intensely excited state, exchanged a glance. They hastily looked towards Nangong Liuyun. Right now, Nangong Liuyun's condition was not good. No, it was very terrible. Originally, they thought stepping onto the fighting stage would imply victory. But no one had expected that this merely signified the beginning. Oh heavens! In the end, what is going on? How could third senior brother, how could? Ziyan's eyes were opened wide. Chapter 1184, Scarlet Blood Ningpo Figwort 5. Her whole face was full of disbelief and the unimaginable. Her eyes were filled even more with anxiety and shock. Bei Chenying's entire person was already unable to move, like a motionless statue. He held his breath with rapt attention, with his pair of eyes staring fixedly at Nangong Liuyun. "Second brother, hang on ah. Bei Chening was so anxious that the rims of his eyes were red. Right now, Nangong Liuyun's situation was very bad. He never imagined that when he set foot on the fighting stage, afterwards, the surrounding environment would change in a flash. Now Nangong Liuyun could clearly feel the changes in his body, originally full of life and vitality, seemed to pass rapidly. The structures of his body rapidly aged. The spirit force in his body poured out like huge, wild waves. A steady flow of spirit force and life's essence passed. So much so that every step forward he took, he could clearly feel the distance between his own death getting closer by a step. On that high stage, the small, white jade brocade box gave off a brilliant luster, like the stars in the night sky, dazzling and bright. The corner of Nangong Liuyun's mouth hooked into a vague and tender smile. Getting hold of the scarlet blood Ningpo Figwort was tantamount to saving Luo girl's life. The corner of Nangong Liuyun's mouth perked up into a weak smile. Luo girl, wait for me. Under the stage, Su Luo's eye sockets were red and swollen. The tears in her eyes, drop by drop, rolled down her cheeks. Don't, Nangong Liuyun, don't. Su Luo's figure was fixed in place. She couldn't run up to the fighting stage. She could only shout out anxiously. But no matter how she tore her heart and split her lungs to cry out, Nangong Liuyun still firmly walked towards that scarlet blood Ningpo Figwort. His steps were weak but unwavering. Su Luo could clearly see the change in his physical condition. 30-year-old Nangong Liuyun. 40-year-old Nangong Liuyun. 50-year-old Nangong Liuyun. Every step he walked, his life would age a bit. No, it can't be like this. How could third senior brother? Large droplets of tears fell from Ziyan's eyes. She fell crying into Bei Chenying's arms. The fists at Bei Chenying's side gave off snapping sounds from being clenched so tightly. But he was helpless. He was so angry that his fist smashed into the wall. A crystal-like teardrop was silently wiped away by him. Watching him rapidly age, watching as his sparkling and translucent jade-like skin became withered skin and bones. Watching as his cut, tall and slender body became thin like a human skeleton in a flash. Watching as his pitch-black as ink fine hair became white. Su Luo only felt dizzy, with bursts of black coming from her mind. Her Nangong, incomparably handsome Nangong, so beautiful as to steal people's souls now, he had almost turned into an old, gray-haired human skeleton. And now, there were only 3 steps distance from him getting the scarlet blood Ningpo Figwort. Very challenging 3 steps. Nangong Liuyun seemed to sense Su Luo's heartache. With great difficulty, he returned to his senses, and smiled beautifully at Su Luo. Su Luo's tears madly rushed out with a rustling sound, climbing so exhaustedly until dropping down to the underworld. Nangong Liuyun, no matter where you go, I will follow after you and go too. Su Luo almost had no voice as she said this sentence. In this second, her heart really pulsed because of Nangong Liuyun. In this moment, Su Luo finally realized that she had already loved him more than herself. Believe in me. Nangong Liuyun smiled as if he was about to collapse. Afterwards, he once again took a step forward. Pfff, a mouthful of scarlet blood, after some delay, freely came out from the corner of his mouth. Nangong Liuyun didn't even have the strength to lift a hand and wipe it away. Immediately following, he took another step forward. Pfff this time, Nangong Liuyun vomited out large mouthful after mouthful of blood. His 5 viscera and 6 bowels had all become seriously old and weak. His vitality was close to being dried up. Nangong Liuyun extended out a hand. He looked at his own arm. It was withered like firewood. Everything all indicated that the distance to death was very close. Chapter 1185, Scarlet Blood Ningpo Figwort, 6. This time, it seemed as if Nangong Liuyun had vomited out all the blood in his body until it was dried up. The final step, Nangong Liuyun said to himself in his heart. Nangong Liuyun's back was hunched, his bamboo pole-like pair of legs swaying, took a step forward. One stagger, and Nangong Liuyun almost fell down. However, due to his instinctive reaction, he grabbed the stone stage and steadied his body that was tottering. Nangong Liuyun extended out his hand, tightly grasping that white jade box. He did it. He did it. Third senior brother did it. Ziyan cried loudly and bitterly. Third senior brother finally got the scarlet blood Ningpo Figwort. But now, no matter what, she couldn't smile. She felt so unwell that she nearly choked. She was already like this. Then what about Su Luo? Ziyin, with her heart aching, looked toward Su Luo. She saw that Su Luo was shaking from head to toe, face, lips, hands. Her whole body was trembling. Su Luo's face had an expression of close-to-death despair. Her body gave off a deep sorrow and grief. She hadn't cried nor spoke yet, but this kind of her made a person feel an intense dread. Luo, Ziyin distressingly gripped Su Luo's hand, but discovered that her hands were cold as ice. Undo my pressure points. Su Luo's tone was so low that it seemed to float by. The confinement third senior brother said, "We don't have a way to undo it." Ziyin felt that she was really stupid, really useless. Couldn't even help a bit. Alas, all are pitiful people. The master of 9 different palace halls originally had both hands behind his back, standing there calmly. Slowly, he walked to in front of Su Luo and patted her on the back. Su Luo suddenly felt that all the blood in her body started to circulate again, and her mobility was restored. Su Luo's figure rushed up the stage like an artillery shell. Luo, don't, you can't go over there." Ziyin and Beichening cried out in alarm at the same time. However, what surprised them was, Su Luo directly ran up the steps to the stage. In a flying manner, she ran towards Nangong Liuyun's figure. It turned out that the instant Nangong Liuyun opened that jade box, a period of huge changes occurred on the stage. The restriction that was originally set was undone in an instant. The moment when the restriction disappeared, Nangong Liuyun's figure directly fell down, and Su Luo recklessly threw herself at him, and was able to hug him to her bosom. "Nangong, are you okay? In the end, how are you?" Su Luo's tears rolled out and fell down. In this moment, she was so anxious that she nearly suffocated. Nangong Liuyun's hand tightly clenched the scarlet blood Ningpo Figwort. He looked at this little face close at hand that wrapped around his soul, and led him along as if in a dream. He smiled weakly, handing over the legendary medicine he had gotten after suffering untold hardships. "For you. Don't want it." Su Luo waved her hand and tossed that scarlet blood Ningpo Figwort far away. Luo, be obedient, must do what is told." Nangong Liuyun breathed with difficulty, with a gossamer of air, as if in the next instant his breathing would be cut off. Su Luo hugged him, crying loudly and bitterly, "I don't want the scarlet blood Ningpo Figwort. If something happens to you, what is the point of me eating it?" "Girl." Nangong Liuyun smiled distressingly. With difficulty, he lifted up his withered hand and gently caressed Su Luo's sparkling and translucent as jade complexion. His eyes contained a strong yearning and unwillingness to let go. "Girl, carry my desire, keep on living." To die, these 2 words, before even stepping foot into the 9 different palace halls, he was already prepared. Therefore he was not surprised. To die for his Luo girl he had no regret. No, absolutely not. Su Luo shook her head as if her life depended on it. Drop by drop, her tears tumbled down on Nangong Liuyun's withered face. "You dare to die on me, watch me die for you." Note from author. Have a premonition I'll be beaten up. First, lift up the lid to the stirred-up pot and run away. P.S. Recommend the Wiz Lu Fei's new book. Chapter 1186. Nangong Liuyun Awakens 1. Just when Su Luo was broken-hearted and inconsolable, the master of the 9 different palace halls strolled to Su Luo's back in a rightfully so manner. His steady voice sounded from behind Su Luo. "You want to save him?" The master of the 9 different palace halls' tone was enigmatic. In this quiet hall, it carried a touch of strangeness and different feeling. Su Luo's head suddenly turned around. With one reach, she grabbed the master of the 9 different palace halls' sleeve. She asked in a loud and excited tone, "You can save him?" The master of the 9 different palace halls looked at the girl in front of his eyes that cried, looking like a cat. With both hands behind his back, a sharp eyebrow raised up slightly, and he proudly tossed his chin up. "That's only natural. Quickly tell me what to do to save him." Hearing that the master of the 9 different palace halls had a way, Su Luo was immediately pleasantly surprised. At the same time, Her pair of red and swollen walnut-like eyes were vastly brighter. The master of the 9 different palace halls cast Su Luo a glance, then unhurriedly withdrew his gaze, as if he hadn't decided yet. Su Luo was a smart person. Naturally, she understood with one glance. Her expression was eager and excited. "What do you want? As long as I can do it, I will agree to it all." The master of the 9 different palace halls clearly wanted to get some benefit. How could Su Luo not see through it? Don't assume that this black soul master of the 9 different palace halls would be very noble and merciful. If he could be bribed by 7th young master, naturally he valued money highly. The master of the 9 different palace halls seemed to be too embarrassed to mention it. He unhurriedly stroked his chin, continuing to sell the climax. "In the end, what do you want? Say it out loud, plainly and clearly." Su Luo, with one hand, pulled him to a stop by the sleeves, wishing to slap him. In fact, Su Luo's temperament had always been calm and collected. Normally, her words, actions and manner were also composed. She had never been this urgent nor set on fire as this moment. But now it concerned Nangong Liuyun's life or death. It was impossible for her not to be impatient. Right now, Nangong Liuyun's appearance was withered, looking like an 80-year-old man. His originally incomparably handsome complexion was full of spots of old age. He had become so skinny as to be nothing but skin and bones. From head to toe, he didn't even have 50 grams worth of meat, so light that he would fall apart from one blow of the wind. The most serious was that his breathing was only a gossamer, intermittent, just like that, sticking out for all to see, like a mummy dried by the wind. Su Luo only had to look at him, and tears would fall down with swish sound. "Quickly tell me, what must I do to cure him? No matter what the price, I am willing." Su Luo's voice was unprecedentedly firm. The master of the 9 different palace halls watched for quite a while before Nangong Liuyun took a breath, then looked at Su Luo, who had cried until her eyes were walnut-shaped. Only then did he cast Su Luo a glance. "Want to save him is fine. Sell your soul to this palace hall's master." "What?" Before Su Luo could react, Ziyin immediately burst out. "Out of the question. Without a soul, how could Luo Luo live? You, this kind of person, can still be considered the master of 9 different palace halls. You are simply profiting from someone else's misfortunes." The fists at Ziyan's side clenched tightly. She panted in rage, glaring at the master of the 9 different palace halls. Beichening pulled Su Luo behind him. His wrathful gaze was like flames, shooting towards the master of the 9 different palace halls. "This condition doesn't even need to be discussed." The palace hall's master sighed helplessly. "You too. Don't be so anxious. This selling the soul isn't like you can't live afterwards." Bei Chenying's eyes were ice cold. With a stiff face he asked, "Say it clearly." The master of the 9 different palace halls good naturally looked at Su Luo and carefully explained. "Selling your soul to this master of the palace halls, it's not like I'm asking you to separate your soul from the physical body. It's merely that when this master of the palace halls has missions to hand over, you must help and go do it. And that's all. Just this simple?" A cold light flashed through Su Luo's eyes. "Yes, just this simple." The master of the 9 different palace halls was all smiles. His manner was good-natured like the laughing Buddha. Chapter 1187. Nangong Liuyun awakens too. However, Su Luo didn't trust him at all. It was because Su Luo could distinguish that the person in front of her eyes was the black soul master of the 9 different palace halls, and not that straightforward, heroic white soul master of the 9 different palace halls. Just when Su Luo was extremely tangled and at a loss, a sigh sounded in her mind. "Stupid loathsome girl. Little stone, you woke up?" Su Luo depressedly greeted this grandpa in the stone. Now, she wasn't in the mood to argue with the little stone, therefore, when the other side cursed her for being silly, she didn't have the strength to retort back. Su Luo not retorting back didn't mean the other side would be satisfied with small gains. The little stone was just short of pointing at Su Luo's head and cursing at her. "Stupid loathsome girl. You aren't really thinking of selling your soul, right? You must know that after you have sold your soul, you will become his servant. If he wants you to die, he merely needs to think it and nothing more." The little stone was simply resentful that she failed to meet expectations. How did he end up following such a stupid little master? Really infuriated him to death, infuriated him to death. The little stone cried and shouted from being angered. Su Luo's expression turned cold. Even if it is like that, then what's the concern? As long as she was able to save Nangong Liuyun, even if you asked her to die immediately, she would do it without the slightest hesitation. Loathsome girl, wah wah wah. The little stone was so angry that he nearly scratched the wall. If you really agreed, then you would have lost out on a lot, don't you know? He merely said one sentence, want to save that loathsome guy. Isn't it better that you do it yourself? A divine light flashed through Su Luo's head. That is to say, you know how to save Nangong. Su Luo jumped up from being pleasantly surprised. However, this movement of hers scared the people at her side. Luo, what happened? Ziyan saw Su Luo suddenly jump up in excitement, and thought that her mind had become deranged. The master of the 9 different palace halls, with hands clasped behind his back, calmly cast Su Luo a glance. Do you agree or not? This palace hall's master doesn't have time to waste with you. He had the appearance of if Su Luo didn't agree, he would directly leave. Su Luo indifferently glanced at him, paying him no heed. Her mind tightly grabbed onto the little stone, not letting him go. Quickly tell me how to save Nangong, hurry up, hurry up. Su Luo pinched the little stone, the muscles protruding out of her hand. The little stone silently rolled his eyes at her. Want to know? Quickly say it. Su Luo was about to blow her top as she glared at him. In fact, it's really simple. Once you eat the scarlet blood Ningpo Figwort, this way, your blood will be able to bring a dead person back to life and put meat on bones of the dead. You can also restore one's youthful vigor and extend their lifespan. Oh. The little stone looked at Su Luo as if looking at an idiot. Your meaning is, Su Luo muttered only half a sentence. Use my blood and make him drink it? Not only that, use your blood to fill his entire body's flesh. At that time, he would be restored to the same as before. The little stone said it with certainty. Only the cultivation he lost would be restored a little slower. Able to keep on living, wherefore would I still make so many extravagant demands? I am already very satisfied with this kind of outcome. Su Luo's face showed a smile of being relieved from a burden. Nangong Liuyun, very quickly, I will be able to save you. Su Luo murmured to herself in her heart. When Su Luo and the little stone were conversing, the master of the 9 different palace halls had waited all along for Su Luo's reply. He saw Su Luo's face from time to time, would be angry, excited, relieved from a heavy burden and all kinds of facial expressions. This made his heart have a not-so-good premonition. Girl, this guy, because of you, could even throw away his life. You can't even do such a little thing for him? Alas, this guy's eyes are really blind. The master of the 9 different palace halls walked with his hands behind his back, swaying confidently as he walked forward. Chapter 1188, Nangong Liuyun Awakens 3. 1, 2, 3. Why was it that this girl hadn't called him yet? The master of the 9 different palace halls was puzzled by this. He stealthily looked back, and saw Su Luo completely ignoring him. Now Su Luo had already picked up the scarlet blood Ningpo Figwort that she had thrown far away before. She bit through the skin of the scarlet blood Ningpo Figwort, and sucked out all the blood-red liquid inside and absorbed it. Afterwards, Su Luo tore the scarlet blood Ningpo Figwort that had lost its inside, and was now dried out and emptied into strips. Like chewing beef jerky, she ate it all in huge mouthfuls. The master of the 9 different palace halls seemed to be dumbfounded. How did this girl know the right way to use the scarlet blood Ningpo Figwort? At this time, there was one person who was so furious that she nearly bit into her gum. This person wasn't anyone else but Li Yaoyao, who saw all of this from beginning to end. No matter what, she never would have imagined that because of Su Luo, 3rd senior brother would even give up his life. Originally, such a handsome youth, now, he had turned into a gray-haired shriveled-up old man. Just when he had paid such a disastrous price for Su Luo, this slut, she actually didn't save 3rd senior brother. Su Luo, you craven and cowardly slut, doing this, how could you be worthy of 3rd senior brother's efforts? Third senior brother must really be blind to pay such a huge price for you. Li Yaoyao, in a towering rage, pointed at Su Luo and cursed. Su Luo indifferently glanced at her. Shut up. You have done such a thing. Based on what do you tell me to shut up? Su Luo, I'm telling you. Wait until after we get out. I will proclaim this matter so that everyone in the world will know. I want everyone in the world to know how shameless and what a contemptible you this woman are. How? Make her shut up. Su Luo instructed plainly. As a result, suddenly, a little divine dragon leaped out of Su Luo's arms and charged directly to smash at Li Yaoyao's mouth. Li Yaoyao was sent directly flying from the hit. Nangong's matter has me to worry about, you count as nothing. Su Luo's expression was apathetic and as cold as ice. After dealing with Li Yaoyao, what made the master of the 9 different palace halls be taken aback was what Su Luo said to Ziyan and Bei Chening. I need to fuse the medicinal property of the scarlet blood Ningpo Figwort. The 2 of you guys help protect me during this process. Finished speaking, she directly closed her eyes and entered the selflessness state. During all of this, Su Luo didn't spare a single glance at the master of the 9 different palace halls. Not even sweeping a glance at him from the corner of her eye. The master of the 9 different palace halls was suffering from pent-up frustrations. He scratched his head, thinking gloomily. Could it be that this girl knew the way to save Nangong Liuyun? This was impossible. Just before, this girl was still anxious, to the point of being set on fire, wishing she could dig out her heart and lungs for him. Not even mentioning that the master of the 9 different palace halls couldn't understand. Bei Chening and Ziyan also didn't understand. However, the 2 of them had a lot of confidence in Su Luo. No matter what she did, they would unconditionally support her. As a result, when Su Luo finished speaking, the 2 stood on each side of her, one on the left, the other on the right, protecting Su Luo very well. Su Luo sat cross-legged next to Nangong Liuyun's body. She had both eyes closed tightly, both hands in the posture of forming seals. Very quickly she entered the selflessness state. After the scarlet blood Ningpo Figwort was absorbed into her abdomen, very quickly, it exhibited its medical properties. Su Luo silently recited the laws while circulating her spirit energy, and withstanding against the huge force of impact from deep within her own blood. Now, her blood seemed to be ignited into a raging flame, so boiling hot that it seemed to be able to bake her dry. A steady flow of energy bubbled out from deep inside her blood like crazy, each burst stronger than the last. Su Luo only felt that all the bones in her body would soon break from the rush. Now Su Luo's vertebra, waist, and forelimbs seemed as if they would burn until nothing was left. Chapter 1189. Nangong Liuyun awakens. 4. Very quickly, a thin layer of sweat appeared on Su Luo's face. The sweat condensed into bigger droplets and rolled down. Now Su Luo's face was very red like clouds of fire burning intensely. Her body's temperature was frighteningly high. Even though Bei Chening and Ziyan were 3 meters away, they could still feel the heat due to her temperature. Su Luo clenched her teeth to bear the pain, with cracking sounds coming from her mouth. She almost grinded her teeth into pieces. She felt as if she had been hoisted on a frame, and was being baked by the fire, bursts of scorching pain coming from her entire body. The violent pain had settled into her forelimbs and bones until it reached the depths of her heart. Towards the end, her body was almost numb. She couldn't give up. Nangong Liuyun was still waiting for her to fuse with the scarlet blood Ningpo Figwort to save him. Su Luo had a strong intent in her heart. She did everything to endure the inhuman pain. Su Luo barely managed to circulate a part of her spirit force, making the boiling blood compress slightly, lowering its temperature. For every circulation her spirit force completed, Su Luo could clearly feel her body getting stronger. Although it felt like she was suffering death by thousands of cuts, Su Luo's lips still curled up into a satisfied smile, because she finally found the way to break through. Her Nangong could be saved. Along with the passage of time, the boiling blood gradually cooled down. Now it was barely lukewarm, flowing in Su Luo's body like a lively spirit, infiltrating into her bones and muscles, strengthening them bit by bit. The originally flushed skin gradually returned to a sparkling, translucent and jade-like complexion. The boiling blood calmed down, Transparent spirit energy flowed out of her in ripples, enveloping Su Luo in a cloud-like mist. Suddenly, a slight fluctuation could be felt in the air. This is... Bei Chenying's eyes opened wide in surprise. Breakthrough. He and Ziyin looked at each other speechlessly. The master of the 9 different palace halls looked at Su Luo gloomily, releasing a heavy sigh. Such a brilliant seedling, and he couldn't use her. Originally, he had to destroy it, but then he promised 7th young master. This treacherous and cunning master of the 9 different palace halls. Just thinking of it, he felt tangled. Su Luo sat there cross-legged, surrounded by spirit energy, a peaceful, calm and satisfied smile appearing on her face. That's right, just now, she had broken through to the 7th rank. In a short 2 years' time, from being a waste material at 0 to 7th rank, Su Luo had created an unprecedented miracle on this continent. Just when everybody was looking with eyes opened wide in disbelief, an even stronger fluctuation came from the air. This who is breaking through. Bei Chenying looked all around and only saw their group of people present. It seems to be. Ziyan's slender finger pointed to Su Luo incredulously. The two of them were suddenly left speechless. She just broke through 1 rank. Now, she broke through another rank? Wasn't this now? Shouldn't Su Luo have reached the 8th rank? A short 2 years' time, from 0 rank to 8th rank? How was this possible? Bei Chenying looked like he was struck by lightning. He stood in place in a daze, with eyes staring blankly at Su Luo. Ziyin also thought this was unreal, but when she recalled Su Luo's natural talent, very quickly, she felt relieved. I really admire 3rd senior brother's eyesight. Ziyin gave a thumbs up in approval. At that time, Su Luo was still a good-for-nothing, but his perception told him she was a pearl. From a pile of broken rocks, he picked out such a precious jadeite. Such a strong innate talent and breakthrough speed. Ziyin realized she had never heard of it. The gaze the master of the 9 different palace halls used to look at Su Luo was even more tangled. Now, his heart still held a thread of lucky hope. He was betting that Su Luo didn't know the treatment method. Surrounded by spirit energy, one could not see Su Luo's face clearly. Chapter 1190. Nangong Liuyun awakens 5. She kept on meditating. Time passed, little by little. All of a sudden, the spirit energy enveloped around Su Luo gradually began to thin out. As it turned out, in a breath's time, these external spirit energy was absorbed, bit by Su Luo. After absorbing all the spirit energy until nothing was left, Su Luo slowly opened her eyes. A flash of insight flitted through her clear, beautiful eyes. Luo, congratulations. Ziyin was sincerely happy for her. Silently, without a word, you actually reached the 8th rank. Very soon, you will surpass Miao. Bei Chenying was all smiles as he stepped closer. Able to reach the 8th rank in 1 breath, Su Luo was also quite satisfied. She smiled. It's only the 8th rank, nothing more, nothing to be proud of. Aren't you also at the 8th rank? Bei Chenying finally received a deep blow. How could his 8th rank be the same as hers? He was especially looked after from when he was still in the womb. He soaked in medicinal baths to wash away impurities in the marrow. But Su Luo, up until she was 15, was still a good-for-nothing waste. Bei Chenying speechlessly looked to the sky. If she was allowed to continuously grow like this from now, within a year, for her to reach 10th rank wasn't impossible. Just when everyone was happy, someone had to jump out to dampen everyone's mood. Su Luo, because of you 3rd senior brother is lying there, whether dead or alive is unknown. And you still have the face to smile? I've never seen such a selfish and mercenary person like you. Li Yaoyao covered her red and swollen mouth as she glared at Su Luo, panting with rage. Su Luo slanted her an annoyed glance. She'd never met someone who was so thirsty for attention. The master of the 9 different palace halls was all smiles as he glanced at Su Luo. This palace hall's master will give you this last chance. Miss this time, your Nangong will really die. Su Luo raised her chin with a ghost of a smile on her face. Even if you die, my Nangong will not die. The master of the 9 different palace halls' smile stiffened at the corner of his mouth. This girl was so impolite to him, could it be? Su Luo simply ignored him and directly squatted down in front of Nangong Liuyun. and started to caress his face with devotion. Nangong, you're cruel and unscrupulous towards all the people in the world, but totally devoted towards me. How can I, Su Luo, let you down? Su Luo's fine white fingers stroked his withered skin, inch by inch. Don't worry, very soon, you will recover your youthful vigor, and even have a prolonged life. Nobody understood the meaning to Su Luo's words, but when the master of the 9 different palace halls heard it, his face immediately changed. How did this girl suddenly become enlightened, knowing everything? Just when the master of the 9 different palace halls was still puzzled and lost in thought, Su Luo took out a dagger from her sleeve. Yen Hua. The dagger was sharp and threatening. With one blow, it could cut things off as if cutting hair. It gave off a faint cold light, emitting an awe-inspiring cold aura. Su Luo didn't think and raised the dagger to slice across her pure white jade-like wrist. Whoosh, the dagger sliced in deeply. Immediately, a stream of fresh red blood rushed out madly. Luo Luo. Ziyin immediately cried out in alarm. What are you doing? Su Luo turned her head back and gave Ziyin a pale smile. Rest assured, I'm saving Nangong, you guys don't be so worried. The master of the 9 different palace halls depressedly had his hand on his forehead. This girl knew, she actually really knew to use this method to save Nangong Liuyun. So it seems there was no way of tricking this girl. Alas, it's such a pity. Su Luo had a ghost of a smile as she glanced at the master of the 9 different palace halls, who had a remorseful expression. Then she returned with single-minded devotion to saving Nangong Liuyun. The scarlet blood gushed and surged out, spilling all over Nangong Liuyun's body. Now Nangong Liuyun looked as if he was soaked in blood. Huge areas of red were on his body, pretty and seductive like a blooming red spider lily by the Bridge of Helplessness. 1. Bridge of Helplessness. This is the bridge in Chinese mythology where dead people cross and drink the bowl of forgetfulness from an old lady by the bridge to continue across to be reborn. Chapter 1191. Nangong Liuyun Awakens 6. Su Luo was hardly stingy with her blood, as if it was free spring water, wishing she could pour it all on Nangong Liuyun's body. Following the passage of time, Su Luo's complexion turned white as a sliver of paper. Bursts of dizziness came from her head. If it wasn't for Ziyin supporting her, very likely, she would have already fainted. Luo Luo. Ziyin could not bear it and said in a strangled voice. She covered her mouth with her right hand, and noiselessly shed silent tears. If Luo Luo kept losing blood like this, the blood in her body would bleed dry. The master of the 9 different palace halls saw this, and he couldn't help but to heave a sigh. What a reckless waste of natural resources. Really is not knowing how to use things sparingly. These blood, every drop is infinitely precious. If an ordinary person drinks it, every drop of it can prolong one's lifespan by 10 years. But you're wasting it like this. Su Luo glanced at him coldly, but didn't issue an opinion. The master of the 9 different palace halls continued to mutter over there. This blood can revive the flesh and bones of the dead. It also is of huge use for cultivating. And you are being so generous. It really is a great pity. Have you finished speaking? Then shut up. Su Luo glared at him unhappily. It's not your blood that's being spilled. What are you pitying it for? How could Su Luo not understand the motives of the master of the 9 different palace halls? He exaggeratedly boasted how miraculous her blood was in front of Li Yaoyao. At that time, when this information was spread out, then wouldn't she, Su Luo, become a mobile treasure? Who wouldn't want to snatch her up and split a share? The master of the 9 different palace halls was choked by Su Luo until he couldn't say another sentence. He could only gloomily turn his head away. With great difficulty, she smeared Nangong Liuyun's whole body with her blood. Su Luo only felt bursts of darkness coming from her forehead, and she almost fainted. Luo Luo, you should rest properly. Ziyin heart-achingly helped her sit down. Su Luo waved her hand. No need, I'll stay with Nangong. Su Luo half knelt there, watching Nangong Liuyun calmly with a gentle smile on her face. Little Stone wouldn't lie to her. Nangong Liuyun would definitely wake up. Su Luo's heart believed it strongly. Time passed by seconds and minutes. Su Luo unblinkingly watched Nangong Liuyun, afraid she would miss a thread of news. After don't know how long had passed, Nangong Liuyun's thin-as cicada wings and densely packed eyelashes moved slightly. Then his pair of clear and cold eyes slowly opened. Su Luo was so excited that she almost screeched. However, in reality, her movements were much softer than anyone else's. She asked in a whisper, "Do you feel uncomfortable anywhere?" Nangong Liuyun looked at Su Luo, then raised his hand and looked at those scarlet blood stains. "Is this your blood?" Nangong Liuyun furrowed his sharp, good-looking eyebrows and asked in a cold voice. Su Luo looked like a little child who'd been caught doing something bad. For a moment she felt a little helpless, but she quickly adjusted. "Correctly speaking, half of this blood that saved your life is due to your own credit." "Oh." Nangong Liuyun looked at Su Luo's face that was pale as silver paper, a touch of regret flashing through his eyes. "I fused the scarlet blood Ningpo Figwort. Only this kind of blood could let you regain your youthful vigor, to rise you from the dead. You are the one who obtained this scarlet blood Ningpo Figwort. Doesn't this mean that more than half of the credit belongs to you?" Su Luo smilingly helped him up, then hurriedly changed the subject. "Now how do you feel? Does anywhere feel uncomfortable?" Nangong Liuyun drew in a deep breath, from the pubic area. This breath began to wander all around. After wandering in a circle for a while, his complexion turned very ugly. "Very good." What he spit out was the two words, "very good." "As for you," Nangong Liuyun's guarded gaze swept by Li Yaoyao's body. "Are these things that you can let just any random people know about? Don't you know what's called chop off the grass without removing the roots? It will grow again when the winds of spring blows? Don't you know what's called don't break it off? There will certainly be misfortune later." Chapter 1192, Nangong Liuyun Awakens 7. Su Luo shook her head, depressed. With the master of the 9 different palace halls acting as a loudspeaker, how can this secret be kept? Moreover, you said don't break it off, there will certainly be misfortune later. This points to, Su Luo's thin, small finger pointed towards Li Yaoyao. Here, there was only Li Yaoyao alone who would spread Su Luo's secret everywhere after they left. At this time, everyone's gazes was focused on Li Yaoyao's body. What do you guys want to do?" Being stared by 4 pair of eyes, Li Yaoyao's heart became alarmed. She had indeed planned on telling everyone in the world about Su Luo's secret once she left here. When all the people in the world came to cause trouble for Su Luo, then she would take advantage and celebrate with catching the fish. But she never expected that the person to mention this was 3rd senior brother, who she had always admired. Don't mention just how sad and dispirited Li Yaoyao's heart was. Su Luo unhurriedly stood up and walked towards her step by step, with a ghost of a smile. "Li Yaoyao, you know too much, you tell me what ought to be done?" Su Luo used a low tone to say this by her ear. "You don't kill me, you guys can't kill me." Li Yaoyao continuously stepped back nervously. "2nd senior brother, save me, 2nd senior brother. PFFF now calling for your 2nd senior brother, isn't it rather too late? Li Yaoyao, your 2nd senior brother has already gone to the netherworld. You want to follow him, isn't that right?" Su Luo's expression was as usual. Her gorgeous smile grew increasingly bewitching. Li Yaoyao was pressed in step by step, until finally, her back hit the wall. Front, back, left and right, there was no way to retreat. Li Yaoyao was like a turtle in an earthen jar with nowhere to run. "You will commit suicide, or do I need to do it?" Su Luo was all smiles as she said this. Originally, based on her growing up as Nangong Liuyun's childhood friend, she could still give her a way to live. But now that she knew this secret, and she would definitely announce it to the world, therefore Su Luo could not let her live. No, you guys can't kill me." Li Yaoyao shook her head, being extremely alarmed. "2nd senior brother even sacrificed his life to save me. 3rd senior brother. Do you have the heart to watch 2nd senior brother's sacrifice be in vain?" Li Yaoyao saw she couldn't move Su Luo, so she turned to beseech Nangong Liuyun. Nangong Liuyun was scarlet from head to toe, as if he had just walked out from Azura's hell. The smell of blood was so thick that it would make people gag. That murderous aura looked like burning blood. Nangong Liuyun was like a blood-soaked youth, getting closer to Li Yaoyao, step by step. Finally, he stood in front of Li Yaoyao firmly, and looked at her with a calm gaze. "I am the one letting you die." Every injustice has its perpetrator, every debt has its debtor. If your heart has any complaints, then come find me. Nangong Liuyun's voice was unsympathetic, steadfast and serene, without a slight lilt in his voice. Third senior brother. I've saved your life before. How can you do this to me? Li Yaoyao shook her head with all her might, crying constantly. Back then, when you went to cultivate through experience, then you were chased to be killed by those people, covered in cuts and bruises. I was the one who secretly stole the medicine from Master and sent it to you. That time, Master almost broke my legs, but I didn't regret it a bit. I was even very happy, because I saved third senior brother. For third senior brother, I was willing to give up my life. I even abandoned all the honor of an unmarried girl. Third senior brother, how could you kill me? Li Yaoyao's cried beautifully like raindrops on pear blossoms, very pitifully. For a split second, Nangong Liuyun's expression was dark and gloomy, but soon followed by a cold light that flashed by. You can only blame yourself for insisting on making Luo girl your enemy. Therefore everybody that became Su Luo's enemy were all targets he must ambush and kill. Chapter 1193, Nangong Liuyun Awakens 8. Third senior brother, I swear I won't say anything. I swear I won't make things difficult for Su Luo. I beg you, I beg you, I beg you to let me go. Li Yaoyao cried until she couldn't breathe. However, her cries, with regards to Nangong Liuyun, clearly weren't the least bit useful. On this earth, only Su Luo's tears could truly move Nangong Liuyun's iron stone-like heart. Yaoyao, if you must hate someone, then hate me. Nangong Liuyun calmly extended his hand. His broad, large palm covered the top of Li Yaoyao's head. Sensing the hot temperature of Nangong Liuyun's palm, Li Yaoyao's heart immediately sank into the abyss. Third senior brother was actually going to kill her with his own hands. Third senior brother, you really want to kill me? Arriving at this moment, contrary to expectations, Li Yaoyao calmed down. Her water-like gaze stared fixedly at Nangong Liuyun. Seeing the man she had adored from childhood to now, Li Yaoyao's heart felt as if was being fried in a frying pan, and also as if it was being crushed by a huge stone. The pain tore through her heart and soul. Nangong Liuyun's eyes were as calm as a lake. No matter how pitiful Li Yaoyao looked, he didn't show any weakness. You really want to kill me? Good, very good. Ha ha ha. Bursts of wild laughter suddenly erupted from Li Yaoyao's mouth. The laughter that sounded was like the cry of a malicious spirit, full of lamentation and mournful. Suddenly, Nangong Liuyun had a bad premonition. His body swayed. After all, right now his strength hadn't completely been restored, his body was still weak. Just when Nangong Liuyun opened his eyes again, Li Yaoyao's figure completely disappeared. Where did Li Yaoyao go? Su Luo's eyes were filled with shock. Just now, she was watching Li Yaoyao without blinking. Her gaze didn't miss even a tiny bit, but Li Yaoyao still vanished right before her eyes. Really like seeing a ghost. Ziyan's pair of eyes opened wide. She rubbed her eyes in disbelief. How could she disappear out of nowhere? Too inconceivable. Disappear out of nowhere, just teleported. However, very clearly Li Yaoyao definitely didn't know how to teleport. Then, how did she accomplish disappearing without a trace? Let us chase. Beichening saw the situation wasn't good, and he moved with every intention to chase after her. She's no longer in the 9 different palace halls. Nangong Liuyun's voice was calm as if nothing had happened. His gaze stared at the master of the 9 different palace halls. The master of the 9 different palace halls spread out his hands helplessly. People disappearing has nothing to do with me. He was always watching this like a play without lifting a finger, let alone to say, he himself had huge problems. Where would he have the time to attend to other people? Su Luo was extremely puzzled. In the end, how did Li Yaoyao disappear? It's impossible. Nangong Liuyun said indifferently. If I didn't guess wrongly, she ought to have a teleportation stone in her hand. Teleportation stone? It was as if Su Luo remembered something. Nangong Liuyun nodded and said, teleportation stone has the same properties as teleportation gates. However, comparatively speaking, teleportation stones are rather crude, because a teleportation stone doesn't have a fixed location or direction. It belongs to the category of immediate teleportation. Space masters are nearly extinct in this world. How could Li Yaoyao have a teleportation stone in her hand? Su Luo curiously asked. Nangong Liuyun heaved a sigh. The Jade Lake's Li family had an ancestor who was a space mage, therefore, the teleportation stone was handed down. After so many years, no matter how many teleportation stones there were, it would nearly be used up. The one in Li Yaoyao's hand may be the last one in the Jade Lake's family. It must be said that Nangong Liuyun's guess was 100% accurate. On that day, Li family's elder was afraid Li Yaoyao would be in danger in 9 different palace halls, therefore he bestowed the last teleportation stone to Li Yaoyao. The reason was to guard against the unexpected. He was afraid Li Yaoyao could not escape from inside. Chapter 1194. Nangong Liuyun Awakens 9. Ziyan's eyes suddenly flashed. That's to say Li Yaoyao, since early on, had already clenched the teleportation stone in her hand? Then doesn't it mean that second senior brother had died in vain? Once these words were said, everyone immediately fell silent. Since the beginning, Li Yaoyao had clenched the teleportation stone in her hand. If she wanted to leave this 9 different palace halls, she could have done it at any time. But Situming just so happened to have died saving her. Like this, Li Yaoyao seemed even more selfish, with no regard for others. So it turned out that all her crying and shouting from before were fake. She had always kept a hidden trump card. Ziyan made a fist and hatefully said. Su Luo speechlessly shook her head. What Li Yaoyao's temper is like, it's not the first day we found out. Acting like this is her true nature. With Su Luo's understanding of Li Yaoyao, no matter how selfishly Li Yaoyao acted, Su Luo could always understand it. Bei Chening suddenly rushed to say. Now Li Yaoyao has run out after, her big mouth will make everything public. Wouldn't Luo Luo's secret be known to the whole world? Bei Chening's words reminded everyone. Momentarily, everyone was silent. In this strange quietness, Nangong Liuyun faintly said a sentence. Before she left, I already shook up the back of her head. Even if she left, she wouldn't live for long. Besides, even if she left Xian's wood residence, there was still the snowfield plateau covered in pure white snow. How far could Li Yaoyao go? Hearing him say this, everyone's hearts also relaxed. However, a trace of doubt existed in Su Luo's heart. According to convention, with Nangong Liuyun's strength, he couldn't possibly give Li Yaoyao the opportunity to use the teleportation stone to escape. But in reality, Li Yaoyao had really escaped. Then there were only 2 possibilities. One was Nangong Liuyun couldn't make himself kill her, and deliberately let her go. This point, Su Luo had complete trust in Nangong Liuyun, so it was ruled out. Then, only the second possibility remained, that was Nangong Liuyun's strength, after this matter, had substantially declined. Su Luo took 2 quick steps and supported Nangong Liuyun's body, and asked quietly by his ear, How's your cultivation? Seeing the girl by his side's face full of worry, Nangong Liuyun laughingly pinched her tiny, delicate and charming nose. No matter, cultivation can always be restored, merely needs some time. Then that's best. Su Luo hugged his arm. The medicine's effect has started to get volatile. You guys help protect me while I cultivate. Once Nangong Liuyun finished saying this, he sat down cross-legged to exercise healing properties. Before the blood Su Luo smeared on Nangong Liuyun's body, after being absorbed for a short period, was completely absorbed by Nangong Liuyun's skin. After fusing with the scarlet blood Ningpo Figwort, Su Luo's blood was brimming with the rich essence of life. Originally, Nangong Liuyun's blood was close to dried up. The internal organs of his body had completely turned old. His flesh looked even more as if it was dried for hundreds of years. However, after absorbing Su Luo's blood, his body quickly started to absorb the essence of life. His body absorbed it greedily, like the timely rain after a drought, and transformed. Very quickly, Nangong Liuyun's originally orange, leathery skin gradually started to glow with traces of vitality. His flesh slowly regained its vigor. His heartbeats grew stronger and stronger. His entire body was moistened full of life by the essence of the scarlet blood Ningpo Figwort. At this time, Su Luo and the others naturally couldn't leave Nangong Liuyun's side. A full day had passed, before Nangong Liuyun slowly opened his eyes. He exhaled a long breath. There was a kind of feeling of having a new lease on life after having a weight off one's mind. Now his cultivation was restored to the 7th rank. But he believed that within a month, he would be able to return to his peak. Chapter 1195. Nangong Liuyun Awakens 10. After Nangong Liuyun woke up, their group bid goodbye to the master of the 9 different palace halls, and left majestically. When they came in, there were 8 of them. However, when leaving there were 3 people missing. Watching them leave, this master of the 9 different palace halls' face immediately dropped down. Ha ha ha, I told you you would lose, but you still didn't believe me. A bold voice sounded in the master of the 9 different palace halls' head. A loss is a loss, so what? Nothing, you made the bet, you have to pay. If I don't agree, be obedient and let me swallow you. From now on there's only me as the master of the 9 different palace halls. For a moment, the black and white soul of the 9 different palace halls engaged in battle. Leaving the 9 different palace halls, and stepping over the doorway to Xian's wood residence, everyone started to look for Li Yaoyao. Li Yaoyao can really run. Just one day's time. And she ran so far that we cannot see her shadow. Ziyan stood on higher ground and looked all around, but she couldn't find any trace of Li Yaoyao. Third senior brother, didn't you say you shook her brain until it cracked, so she couldn't run far? Nangong Liuyun's beautiful eyebrows pursed slightly, and he sank into reflection. According to reason, she should fall into coma within 2 hours. Nangong Liuyun said with certainty. Then that's weird, now all traces of her have disappeared. Looking at the endless snow, Ziyan's face immediately fell. Could she have been carried away by wolves? Since she had sunk into a coma, then in this snowfield plateau, she certainly could not survive. Since it's like this, we shouldn't be so concerned either. Su Luo smiled, reassuring everyone. In fact, Su Luo still had another sentence she didn't say. Just because good people don't live long, scourge lasts for millennia. Li Yaoyao, this kind of scourge, she didn't believe she would die this easily. It's a pity, when she released the little divine dragon to search, there was still no trace of Li Yaoyao. As a result, Su Luo also spread open both hands with no other way. What I'm worried about is Li family's elder leaving a spirit trace on that teleportation stone. Therefore, once Li Yaoyao used it, this elder would know about it. Nangong Liuyun's eyebrows knit tightly momentarily, he seemed worried. Nangong Liuyun rarely spoke, but every sentence he said could not be ignored. He put forth this guess, even though it was merely a possibility. However, this possibility was very high. Then we're done for. Bei Chening looked at everyone gloomily. If Li Yoyo really was saved by Li family's elder, then Luo Luo's matter will definitely be known by everybody under the sky. Su Luo grabbed her head, and then gave a heavy sigh. Okay, she overcame all obstacles to bravely break through the 9 challenges. After narrowly escaping death to get the Scarlet Blood Ningpo Figwort, with great difficulty, she refined and fused with it to be promoted 2 levels in succession. Before she had time to be happy, in the blink of an eye, she once again became people's concern. Su Luo gracefully had her hand over her forehead, and speechlessly looked to the sky. What kind of life is this? Naturally born to be chased and killed. Miserable type, okay? Wait a month for me. Nangong Liuyun's eyes contained waves of tenderness. In 1 month's time, everything is going to be fine. Nangong Liuyun had confidence that within 1 month, his cultivation would be restored to before. This way, even if Li family's elder personally made the move, he had confidence he would be able to protect Su Luo thoroughly. In addition, there was Grandmaster Rong Yun at that time, who dared to touch a hair on Luo girl's head. Okay, then we will cultivate here for a month, and wait for your cultivation to be restored. Afterwards, we'll go back. Su Luo wrapped her arm around his, and looked at him with a broad smile. Chapter 1196. Nangong Liuyun Awakens 11. As soon as she learned that Li Yaoyao would make her secret known to the public, Su Luo indeed was somewhat worried, but Nangong Liuyun's words made her eyes shine. With Nangong Liuyun's protection, what could she possibly be worried about? Let alone to say that now, she was at the 8th rank, an average person was not her opponent. Everyone decided to stay in the snowfield plateau to cultivate, but the heavens didn't seem to care for them. Ah. Su Luo exhaled lightly. What's wrong? Nangong Liuyun affectionately rubbed her little head. I feel, my public region is heating up. Su Luo lifted her palm-sized little face, her hesitant face had a trace of puzzlement. Moreover, I can't seem to control my legs, as if I'm about to go and ride the wind. Everyone looked at each other in dismay. What was going on? Why would she feel as if she was about to elevate like an immortal? Everyone looked at Su Luo with mystified gazes. Su Luo's gaze darted around and finally fixed on Nangong Liuyun's body. I can't control it. She had just finished speaking when Su Luo's body was like a flash of light, and in an instant, disappeared in place. Everyone that was left behind looked at each other in dismay and contrast. Nangong Liuyun immediately reacted. He anxiously shouted loudly, Luo Luo. But no matter how loudly and heart-wrenchingly Nangong Liuyun shouted, just like this, Su Luo disappeared into thin air, not leaving the slightest trace. Where did Luo Luo go? Bei Qinying's eyes were wide open until they were round. He felt that his brain couldn't keep up with what had happened before his eyes. Luo Luo seems to have flown away. Ziyan thought for a long time, and then finally stammered these words out. Suddenly, a light flashed through Ziyan's eyes and she shouted loudly, That's right. Just now, the scene of Su Luo's disappearance was very similar to Li Yaoyao's. At that time when third senior brother was about to kill Li Yaoyao, Ziyan was simply too excited, so she watched without blinking, afraid to miss a single detail. Therefore, she remembered everything very clearly. Ziyan's words immediately reminded Nangong Liuyun. Nangong Liuyun very quickly calmed down. In contrast, his face actually had a trace of being pleasantly surprised as he faintly said, Rest in place, and wait for Luo Luo to return. If Luo Luo really... Then during this trip to Xianzwood residence, Luo Luo's harvest was really in defiance of the natural order. Although Bei Qinying and Ziyan didn't know what Nangong Liuyun had up his sleeves, but seeing him so calm, they also felt relieved. Nangong Liuyun sat down in place to meditate. Very quickly, he entered the cultivation state. Bei Qinying and Ziyan didn't have Nangong Liuyun's strength to be calm as water. The two people's hearts were simply too curious. As a result, one jumped up on a tree and the other dashed up to a hilltop. They surveyed the scene from high above, trying to find something, but all they saw was the vast white of the snow. Apart from this, there was nothing else. What's happening to Su Luo at this time? In fact, even she herself was very confused. She only felt that her body was like a ray of light. In a flash, she flew very far. When Su Luo opened her eyes again, she discovered a troop was walking in the snow. Su Luo hadn't seen clearly the situation with this troop when her body, with a clang sound, smashed into the horse carriage in the front. This horse carriage was luxuriously decorated, with exquisite workmanship. However now, Su Luo completely couldn't pay any attention to it. Now, she was completely unable to control her body. She could only let her body fall down. One could only hear a clang sound, and Su Luo's pair of legs directly broke through the roof of the carriage. Now her strength was about 1,500 kilograms, and she directly sat down. Chapter 1197. Something major has occurred. 1. Such a strong force. Su Luo felt that her butt really hurt. Su Luo didn't know what she sat on. She only knew it was a round spherical object. Oh! An ear-piercing screech came from under Su Luo's butt. Su Luo looked down. Not good. This fall of hers definitely startled the gods and made ghosts cry. She actually sat on top of somebody's head. Su Luo wanted to laugh but didn't dare to. Her face turned red from holding it back. People come. Catch the assassin. A sharp screech came from a buried neck. It was a female voice. Su Luo secretly said not good in her heart. Just now when she fell, she saw it clearly. This was a very strong group of people. However now, Su Luo already clearly understood everything that happened in her head. She suddenly disappeared in place, and suddenly appeared here. She was 80% certain that her teleporting skills were stronger. I wink, I move, I once again move in a wink. Su Luo silently chanted. Very quickly, a white light flashed by, and Su Luo's figure disappeared from that girl's neck in an instant. Third Miss, are you okay? Where's the assassin? A group of people hurriedly ran to her, and surrounded this Third Miss's horse carriage. This Third Miss wasn't just an ordinary Third Miss. She was Central Palace, Missouri family's most favored Third Miss. Central Palace was one of the 10 great families on the continent. Along with Green Jade Palace and the Jade Lakes Palace, they stood side by side in strength as the 3 palaces. Where is the person? Third Miss Mo Yunqing only felt her neck become light. When she looked again, that person had disappeared into thin air. Ouch, my neck! After Third Miss returned to her senses, she only felt that her neck had nearly broken from being sat on. It was so painful that she almost started to cry. Third Miss. The captain of the guards who was outside heard his family's Third Miss's cry of pain, and lifted the carriage's curtain without hesitation. Inside the carriage, the originally charming and pleasant Third Miss now had her neck crooked and her face tilted. She hugged herself and laid down on the board in the carriage, crying out with sounds of pain. When the captain of the guards looked again, the roof of the carriage was seriously damaged. There was a huge hole in it, and wood fragments fell all over the ground. In the end, what happened? How could the carriage roof break out of nowhere? Are you guys dead? Quickly go and catch the assassin. Must this miss be dead before you guys will be willing? Mo Yunqing was usually arrogant and cold towards these people below her, without a generous face. Now, she was even angrier in her rebuke. But they simply didn't see an assassin. Where should they go to catch him? This captain of the guards was suddenly empty-handed without a plan, and felt his head get big. Why haven't you quickly gone? Mo Yunqing's whip directly thrashed over, but also because of this, she pulled on her injured neck. This Mo family's Third Miss immediately covered her neck, and cried bitterly. My neck is about to break, boo-hoo boo-hoo. Third younger sister, what's the matter? Mo family's second young master Mo Yunfeng rode his horse quickly over. Second older brother, quickly help me catch the assassin. Someone attacked me. When Mo Yunqing saw her older brother, it was as if she had found a pillar and complained loudly. Assassin? Where is this assassin? Mo Yunfeng wrinkled his beautiful, sharp eyebrows. Second older brother. How can there be no assassin? Then could my neck be sprained by itself? Mo Yunqing immediately opened both eyes wide to glare at Mo Yunfeng incredulously. Just now, there really was an assassin that fell from the sky and broke my neck. Mo's Third Miss was too embarrassed to say that the person had directly sat on her neck and broke it, because that would make her look like a livestock someone rode on. It was too disgraceful to death of her status as the Mo family's Third Miss. Chapter 1198. Something major has occurred, too. Mo Yunfeng's eyebrows knitted even more intensely. He'd been following the horse carriage this whole time, and he hadn't seen an assassin drop from the sky, let alone to say that this place was wide open with snow in all direction. Even if there was an assassin, where would he be able to hide? This snowfield plateau had been frozen over for a millennium. The layer of ice was incomparably hard, wanting to hide under it. Only an expert at the 10th rank could. However, a 10th rank expert wouldn't possibly attack her, the Third Miss of the Mo family, okay? So to summarize, third younger sister, did you have a nightmare? Mo Yunfeng tried asking her. Second older brother. Mo Yunqing got so angry that she nearly went mad. If the person before her wasn't her family's second older brother, she would definitely directly kick out and send him flying as far as possible. Second older brother. Do you think that if I was having a nightmare, I would twist my own neck? Mo Yunqing glared at him angrily. It went silent all around them. There were people silently ridiculing her inwardly. Spraining one's neck while sleeping, that's not such a hard thing to do. Mo Yunqing saw that no one believed her, and her heart became even angrier. She was the victim, okay? Why was it that no one believed her when she said it out loud? Really infuriating her to death. Second older brother. Do you think that while having a nightmare, I could fly up and overturn the roof of my own carriage? Mo Yunqing panted in rage while pointing at the roofless carriage. I dare to swear on my life that just earlier, there truly was a woman. She directly dropped down and sat down, twisting my neck. With great difficulty, Mo Yunqing clasped her almost twisted-off neck and complained angrily. However, these words of hers made everyone think it was even funnier. A person dropped from the sky and sprained the third Miss's neck? Ha ha ha, this was truly the funniest joke. They had been following the carriage all along and surrounded it. How was it that they hadn't seen a person drop down? Let alone to say, even if the third Miss really did get smashed askew by a person dropping from the sky, then didn't that indicate she normally did too much? Even the heavens wouldn't let her off. Everyone wildly ridiculed her in their hearts. Mo Yunfeng rubbed his chin, turned around and asked the people nearby, "Did any of you see an assassin run out from the third Miss's carriage?" "We didn't." The nearby chamberlains shook their heads firmly. "You guys really didn't?" Mo Yunfeng's face stiffened, and his expression turned cold. Responding to second young master, "We really didn't. We dare to swear on our lives that not even a housefly flew out from the third Miss's carriage." The voices of the nearby chamberlains were unprecedentedly firm and earnest. After they finished speaking, they continued to stare at Mo Yunqing with incomprehensible expressions. Mo Yunqing felt that she was about to be driven mad from anger. She angrily blew her top. "You two lowly people who take what's mine and still take from the outside. Actually dare to lie through your teeth. See if this miss doesn't beat you guys to death." Mo family's third miss had only just moved when she realized her neck felt extremely painful, and couldn't help but cry out in pain. Mo Yunfeng watched Mo Yunqing helplessly. "All right. When we reach Yuan City up ahead, I'll go find a refining apothecary to treat your injury. Yunqing, I think you'd best not sleep in the carriage, lest you also sprain your arms or legs. The second young master's words made all the servants want to laugh, but they dared not. Every one of them stifled their laughs, restraining themselves so much that their faces flushed red. But they dared not laugh out loud. Mo family's third miss was almost about to cry. She was treated unjustly. This was truly frost coming in June and bringing great injustice. However, simply no one believed her words. At this moment Su Luo, who was the main culprit behind all of this, had already silently made her return. Miss Su, who felt as guilty as a thief, silently wiped away the sweat. At long last, she had returned by teleportation. Good thing she ran fast, otherwise, she would have been caught at the scene. Chapter 1199, Something Major Has Occurred 3. Luo, you're back. When Ziyan saw Su Luo, she immediately ran over excitedly. "Haha yeah." Su Luo let out a hollow laugh with haha. "Just now where did you fly to? How did you disappear in the blink of an eye?" Ziyan's face was filled with curiosity, her eyes shining like stars. Su Luo forced a smile as she scratched the back of her head. How would she know where she flew to? She only knew that when she flew over, she sprained the neck of someone's miss by sitting on it. However, this matter was too great of a sin. She really was too embarrassed to mention it. There was a smile in Nangong Liuyun's eyes. His water-like, pitch-black eyes smiled at her, brimming with deep meaning. Su Luo returned his smile. "You already know?" Nangong Liuyun pinched her little face, and by her ear, he said 2 words softly. Then he asked, "Isn't that it? Considered you're clever." Su Luo raised her chin complacently. "This miss finally is able to teleport. This scarlet blood Ningpo Figwort truly is the best tonic under the heavens. Not only did it help me to advance 2 ranks, it also allowed me to teleport to a faraway place." It wasn't because Su Luo didn't know how to teleport before, but that she had only been able to teleport within a distance of 10 meters. At that time, this 10-meter teleportation had also saved her life. However, relatively speaking, the 10-meter teleportation seemed to have much less value. Thankfully this time she could teleport long distances. However, even Su Luo herself didn't know just how far she had teleported this time. The moment Su Luo mentioned she could teleport, everyone was happy for her. Ziyan was even eager to give it a try and wanted Su Luo to bring her along to play. If it were any other day, Su Luo would have agreed to it without saying anything further. However, after going through that experience of spraining someone's neck by sitting on it, our Miss Su's heart was still somewhat on tenterhooks. Just when she didn't know what to do, Nangong Liuyun, on the other side, spoke. There's a group of people coming over. Nangong Liuyun's eyes narrowed, nonchalantly giving them a warning. Although his current strength was at the 7th rank, the instincts from his own body like perceptivity would not lower or disappear when one's strength was reduced. As for Miss Su Luo, that was called having a guilty conscience. She, with 2 swishes, immediately ran up a tree to get a long and broad view. There really is a group of people coming over. Su Luo jumped down the tree. When the snow from the tree fell onto her body, she didn't even notice. What? You recognize that group of people? When Ziyan saw Su Luo staring blankly with a strange expression in her eyes, she couldn't help ask in a teasing manner. Ha ha ha, how is that possible? Miss Su let out several hollow laughs. Then, she felt her pretense was too exaggerated, so she clearly coughed twice. Luo, you're hiding something from us, oh? Ziyan smiled evilly as she approached Su Luo, attempting to interrogate her. Su Luo replied with a deadpan expression. What matter am I hiding from you? Why don't I know about it? As she spoke, Su Luo silently fished out a pale yellow fox fur coat, and exchanged it with the ash-gray sable fur coat on her body. Out of nowhere, why would you suddenly change clothes? Ziyan was becoming increasingly more puzzled. Nonsense. Don't change my clothes, and wait for them to come catch me, ah? Su Luo silently ridiculed, cursing in her heart. Although Su Luo was certain that the young lady who got sat on didn't see her face clearly, however, her clothes was a big target, ah. It might just be seen by her. Su Luo threw the sable fur coat into her space, using a destroying the corpse and removing the evidence method. Then, she unhurriedly walked to Nangong Liuyun's side, as if nothing had happened. Should we avoid them? Su Luo faintly asked while watching the black dots at the rear become increasingly clearer. Why should we avoid them? Bei Qining puffed out his chest and walked over, saying complacently, based on our current strength, we could try and challenge the world. There is only others avoiding us, not us avoiding others. Chapter 1200. Something major has occurred for. This reason is indeed true. Nangong Liuyun smiled until his eyes were half squinting. However, the next half of the sentence hit Bei Qining with cuts and bruises all over. But the current you doesn't have any way of dealing with Mo family's second eldest. Mo family's second eldest? Bei Qining, having heard what was said, immediately cried out in surprise. Central Palace's Mo family was one of the 10 influential families in the present age. The Mo family's second young master, Mo Yunfeng's innate spirit, strength and talent was very formidable. Back then, he even caused a great commotion in the continent. Ordinarily, when clan elders lectured people, they usually had stiff faces while holding feather dusters and cursing angrily. Look at Mo family's Mo Yunfeng. Such a young age, and he's already blah blah. This Mo Yunfeng was the legendary 360 degrees, all-around perfect child in someone else's family. Of course, Nangong Liuyun's reputation was even greater than Mo Yunfeng's, but every family elder was a wise person, right? Nangong Liuyun was like a distant god up high in the clouds. How could ordinary people catch up with him? This Mo Yunfeng's second young master was a live target that could be overtaken. So during little Bei Qinying's miserable childhood years, his ears had been flooded continuously with talk of how perfect Mo family's second young master was. It was to the extent that he was extremely sensitive to the words, Mo Yunfeng. Nangong Liuyun, with a smile that wasn't quite a smile, raised his eyebrows up and down. Why are you still afraid of him? Like I'd be afraid of him? Suddenly, it seemed as if someone had stepped on Bei Qinying's tail, and he almost jumped up excitedly. Right now, I'm at the 8th rank. The peak of the 8th rank at that. How can he be compared to me? He is only worthy for making tea and pouring water for me. Bei Qining snorted unhappily. Nangong Liuyun had his hands behind his back as he stood up. His gaze was directed towards something really far away, and then landed on the small black dots in the distance. Before we entered the 9 different palace halls, I heard this MO's second young master was at the peak of the 8th rank. Don't know what he's at now. He's also at the peak of the 8th rank. Bei Qinying's expression suddenly turned grim as he cursed inwardly. Mo Yunfeng, you better stay there. Don't you dare break through before I do. However, Bei Qinying's cursing didn't seem to have any effect. Very quickly, the distant black dots soon arrived before Nangong Liuyun's group. Mo Yunfeng was dressed in sky blue robes, with a jade-like face and a handsome, bright and godly appearance. He really was an elegant and fine young master, who truly stood above the common crowd. His eyes were like the colors of autumn, his red lips curved up, carrying a smile that was warm like jade. Just seeing it would give others a favorable impression of him. Oh Nangong Beichen. So it turned out to be you too. Mo Yunfeng rode astride a large horse as he dashed over. After pulling on the reins, his smile was full of deep meaning. What? You're not even surprised to see the two of us? Bei Qining had both his hands behind his back like an old man, glancing askance at Mo Yunfeng. Mo Yunfeng jumped off the horse's back and cupped his hands together, apologizing humbly, begging pardon. There were rumors circulating that you had gone to Xian's Wood residence, and this place is the only road there. So, he had a smile on his face, and his attitude was extremely good, carrying a smile as he looked at Nangong Liuyun and the others. However, when his gaze swept over Nangong Liuyun, it was filled with some deep meaning. Nangong Liuyun calmly stood in place, his expression nonchalant and aloof, like a spirited eagle in the night sky. He possessed a show of disdain for the heavens, looking disdainfully at the world strong in an overbearing manner. Mo Yunfeng's eyes creased slightly, his opinion couldn't be seen. Didn't Li Yaoyao say that Nangong Liuyun had suffered serious injuries, and was on the verge of death? Looking at him now, why does it seem like he's totally fine? Or maybe the several people before him were using powerful connections to intimidate people. Just at this moment, an angry voice rang out from within the horse carriage. Why did we stop? Hurry up and let's go. Hearing this voice, our Miss Su unconsciously pulled back her neck and silently retreated a step. Truly, after hurting someone for no reason, she had somewhat of a guilty conscience. Chapter 1201. Something major has occurred 5. At this time, the carriage curtain was lifted up to reveal a lovable and charming little face. This face had the countenance of a flower and a face like the moon. It was unforgettable to anyone who saw it, but unfortunately, that neck was crooked. Su Luo almost burst out in laughter. She hung her head low, biting her lower lip tightly. Only like this, no one would realize something was off. However, Ziyan, who was standing beside her, had seen it, and she poked Su Luo's arm. Mo Yunqing is a beauty who is comparable with Li Yaoyao. But why is her neck crooked? Don't you find it strange? Su Luo bit her lip, restraining her expression as she raised her head and said in a deadpan manner, maybe she fell down by accident while she was sleeping. Unlikely, right? Ziyan found it hard to believe. No matter what, Mo Yunqing was still a 6th-rank cultivator. How could she twist her neck while sleeping? This was too illogical. Moreover, even though Su Luo seemed honorable, there was a trace of deceitfulness that flashed through her eyes. Ziyan's eyes suddenly lit up. Luo, just now when you disappeared, did you? Su Luo immediately covered Ziyan's mouth. No. Ziyan almost suffocated from being covered. Only then did Su Luo release Ziyan and then glare at her unhappily. You didn't find out anything, okay? Understood. Oh. Ziyan covered her mouth while giggling. Su Luo's behavior showed she had something to do with Mo Yunqing's neck being crooked. Just thinking about it, it felt amusing to Ziyan. Nangong Liuyun, having heard this, his thin attractive lips evoked up slightly. He just knew that his family's Luo girl was restless. Sigh. He lovingly stroked Su Luo's head. Mo Yunfeng and his sister completely didn't know that Su Luo was that culprit. At this time, Mo Yunfeng laughed quietly as he greeted them. Everyone, it's rare that you've come to the northern region. Our chance encounter can also be considered as fate. Don't know if you all would like to follow me to Central Palace for a chat? Nangong Liuyun's eyes narrowed halfway dangerously, and with a smile that wasn't a smile, he swept a glance at Mo Yunfeng. This glance seemed as sharp as a blade, and Mo Yunfeng was almost defeated. He took a deep breath. Only by doing this was he able to maintain his calm and collected surface expression. If we don't go? Bei Qining arrogantly raised his chin, sneering repeatedly. Invite us to go and we'll go, then wouldn't we be losing face? Mo Yunfeng's complexion turned slightly cold, somewhat unable to keep his expression. At this time, Mo Yunqing, supporting her neck, climbed out from the carriage. When she saw Bei Qining, she immediately scowled fiercely. Bei Qining, so it really is you guys? Do I know you? Bei Qining arrogantly cast a glance at Mo Yunqing. You don't know me. Mo Yunqing's eyes opened wide. Then, she walked over quickly with her right hand supporting her neck and glared at him while panting with rage. Bei Qining, you dare to say you don't know me? Back then, who was it that pushed me into a mud pit? It was at that time that you caused my neck sprain. Bei Qining touched his nose guiltily, while on the other hand he then explained righteously and self-confidently. It's not like that was deliberate. When I was fighting with Mo Yunfeng, who told you to stand by the mud pit? A strong wind swept you into the mud pit where you sprained your neck. How can you blame me for it? Mo Yunqing got so angry, she almost fainted. Su Luo, having heard this with a pft, she let out a laugh. So it turned out that this wasn't the first time Miss Mo Yunqing had her neck sprained. It seemed that her neck was used to dislocating, so Su Luo couldn't be blamed for it. Hey, what are you laughing about? When Mo Yunqing heard the laughter, she immediately switched targets to Su Luo, glaring at her in a rage. Who are you? Who permitted you to laugh? This indulged young woman was accustomed to being crafty, unruly, and willful, because everyone was her family's slave, and she treated them all with an arrogant and bossy attitude. Chapter 1202. Something major has occurred. 6. Su Luo lifted up her eyes, with a somewhat ridiculing expression as she looked at Mo Yunqing. When Mo Yunqing saw Su Luo's face, her eyes immediately opened wide until they were round, and her figure stiffened while standing there. This face was simply a beauty that was not of this world. Her facial features were perfect, without even the slightest flaw. Even Mo Yunqing, who was normally the pickiest woman, stared in awe at Su Luo. Normally, everyone all spread that Li Yaoyao was as beautiful as a fairy, unmatched by anyone. However, right now, this young woman was much more beautiful than Li Yaoyao. Additionally, that clear aura and unperturbed calmness, which emanated from within, definitely could not be faked. For her to be compared with Li Yaoyao, it was truly like the difference between cloud and mud. After a moment of lifelessness, Mo Yunqing very quickly recovered her senses. An intense envy flashed past Mo Yunqing's eyes, who had just recovered her senses. Why would she grow to be even more beautiful than me? This was simply unforgivable. Just who are you? Mo Yunqing's pair of eyes was full of bitter resentment and envy. Without hiding it, she glared openly at Su Luo. Su Luo speechlessly touched her nose. Just one gaze and she had already offended Mo family's third miss? What kind of luck was this? Su Luo returned the glare unhappily. If you ask then I answer, doesn't that make me lose face? Su Luo copied Bei Qinying's way of speaking. In a flash, Mo Yunqing's anger soared to the sky. The whip in her hand suddenly lashed out. Just who are you? Why are you standing by older brother Nangong's side? The moment Su Luo heard this, immediately her interest greatly increased. So, it turned out that this Mo family's third miss had already known Nangong Liuyun from before? Perhaps, could it be that she already had feelings for him? Thinking up to here, Su Luo's eyes narrowed halfway, and with a ghost of a smile, she cast a glance at Nangong Liuyun. Nangong Liuyun's expression was as per usual. His pitch-black eyes contained fascinating soft waves. Luo Luo, what's the matter? What's the matter? What else could be the matter? You womanizer who goes around sowing your wild oats. Su Luo unhappily glared at him. Nangong Liuyun indeed did not think about this matter. To him, the reason for Su Luo's glare was an unfathomable mystery. He couldn't help but touch his chin. He gathered closer and flicked Su Luo's forehead. You this girl, in the end what is the matter? When Mo Yunqing saw Nangong Liuyun, suddenly, her face was full of smiles. Her smile was gentle and soft like water, smiling like a flower. Older brother Nangong. Nangong Liuyun imperturbably cast her a glance, frowned, and then brought his attention back to Su Luo. He asked diligently and tirelessly, Girl, what's the matter? Where aren't you feeling well? Older brother Nangong. When Mo Yunqing saw Nangong Liuyun ignoring her, she immediately pouted her little mouth and raised the volume of her voice. Older brother Nangong, I'm little Qing Ah. Don't you remember little Qing Ah? Su Luo suddenly felt a loathsome chill run through her whole body. This voice was coy as if from a completely different person from the aggressive voice Mo Yunqing had used to interrogate Su Luo earlier. Su Luo and Ziyin exchanged a look. Both had a speechless expression flashing through their eyes. Su Luo simply took a step back and retreated behind Nangong Liuyun, letting him deal with Mo Yunqing. Mo Yunqing and Li Yaoyao's temperaments were somewhat similar. Su Luo didn't want it to provoke this lunatic. Su Luo wanted to keep the peace, but Mo Yunqing absolutely would not allow Su Luo to retreat. I order you to stay right there. Mo Yunqing pointed at Su Luo in a rage. When she raised her eyes to look at Nangong Liuyun, there was a questioning expression in her eyes. Older brother Nangong, just who is this woman? Why is she allowed to stand by your side? Nangong Liuyun used a looking at an idiot expression to look at Mo Yunqing. Then he apathetically threw out a line. If you wanted to get this king's attention, then congratulations, you've achieved it. Because Miss Mo Yunqing had truly succeeded in nauseating His Highness Prince Jean. That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.